Hello and welcome to episode 162 of the Imperial Truth. I'm Greg. Joining me as ever is Mr. Howard.
Hello, Greg. You doing all right?
Yeah, not bad. You?
Yeah, pretty good actually. Pretty good. Recovered from the blessings of Nurgle of last week, and fighting fit again now.
Well, that works out right because this episode wasn't going to be on time anyway because we were holding back until we could record some of the stuff we're going to talk about today because of NDAs and all that jazz. And pushback dates.
We don't want to spoil any surprises, do we? Who would?
No, absolutely not. Before we go anywhere else, let's talk Element Games, where you can go and buy all your Plastic Horus Heresy stuff. And what else now? There's just everything. Absolutely everything. What were they? There was something new. Oh, display cabinets for the Kickstarter.
Oh yes, that's gone quite big. I think was it?
Has it
fully funded? It was fully funded in either 5 or 15 minutes. I seem to remember.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't take long. They aren't cheap.
They are not, but they are very pretty.
Yeah, they're a top end product. Yeah, I mean, there's only 612 backers, and they spent £157,657.
Yeah.
Quite a lot.
I think it's fairly easy to go fairly big with that stuff.
Yeah.
However, they are rather nicely designed.
Indeed, they are. It is a premium product. If you, it's something like if I was a better painter and managed to get like commended or something like that, a Golden Demon, and that was like, wow, I managed it, then I'd get something like that to put it in, that kind of thing.
Yes, and it would look cool. I think it looks particularly cool when you've got a little cluster of them. A little cluster of them in different sizes. That looks quite slick.
I could see myself getting like a little one for like our wedding cake toppers were. Space Wolf Primaris and a Sisters of Silence with a different head, a non-gagged head for that. So yeah, those kind of things, those pieces which mean something.
We also did our wedding cake toppers as ours was. I did the Empress Champion hand in hand with the Dark Eldar. Sorry, Drukhari, one of the courtiers type, the woman with the flowing dress thing.
Not the slave, not the old second edition.
That would have been a bold move.
That
would have been quite the power move that would promptly lead to the end of all things, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, that's cool.
That was my little project. She was quite keen that we did that. Yeah, I painted those up before the big day.
I got Golden Demon / Ordwin Neil paints to paint mine, of which he procrastinated, and then I had to drive up there the night before my wedding and pick them up at like 10 o'clock at night because that's the time I could get up there. Yeah, it was a journey driving all the way out there in a smart roadster. As a tall guy, yeah, don't get a smart roadster. Anyway, so Element Games have all of that. There is still time on release to get in that. You only have a few days left, but you can pledge $1 and then you get into the pledge manager if you're unsure. So that's never a bad idea. But yeah, they do games, board games, card games, whatever you need, whatever you want. If you want to go and get the new Kill Team for some more Plastic Zone Mortalis terrain, then great place to go and get it.
I'm just tempted. I don't think they've announced any Black Friday type deals.
No.
I don't think that's their
Not
thing.
Yet.
But I am keen to see if they've got that wet palette. They seem to be one of the few places that sell it in the UK.
Yeah, they normally on Black Friday they might get rid of some other stock, but what they'll also usually do is do extra crystals. Or have done in the past, sorry. So I don't know whether they can do that or not. But in the past, they've like X amount extra crystals or whatever, or what have you. For
it's still a bit of a retail fest, isn't it? That time, whatever it is. So it's always gets you looking. I find those days.
I mean, there's also that thing like the profit they make on Games Workshop stuff for any of these companies, like, they're selling volume to make the money. So if you're eating into that more and more, we've seen it before with companies years ago who were shipping worldwide for not a lot of money before GW brought in their regional shipping restrictions. They were hurting themselves as well as other people because they have to compete, and it's not actually that good. So, and that all ended in a horrid mess a long time ago. For those who know the Maelstrom Games story, that was part of the problem, should we say. So, hey ho, it's all good. Element Games doing things, in a sustainable way is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, particularly not when you carry the range that they do.
No, exactly. And multiple stores now, of course. Remember, Sheffield, Nottingham, and in fact, Rob from Edge of Empire was in GW, in Warhammer World, in Bugman's, writing out a new army and ordering from, phoning up Element in Nottingham to see if they had it in stock to pick it up on the way out. Which,
Amazing. Amazing.
That kind of thing you can do. So yeah, and you can use the code in the show notes, or sometimes put out on a Saturday to help support the show. And also in the show notes are two elements codes, so you can use them if you wish to, because getting the crystals is the best bit, obviously. Also, I did want to shout out because they do sponsor the sister show, Full Stride, but we've had some issues with getting timings and things with Full Stride recently. But it's also relevant here because Versatile Terrain make some amazing name. I can't remember what they're called now. Nameplates. Yeah, plates. That's the word. Resin plates, or sorry, 3D printed plates that you can stick around the bases of your models. It is a form of resin, isn't it? Yeah. You know what I mean.
I know why you hesitate.
It's when people say, "Oh, resin, not plastic," and it's like, well, I mean,
yeah,
it's all kind of the same
polymer based. Actually, exactly. I think you'll find.
So yeah, 3D printed. A huge variety of fonts to choose from to put name badges around your models, whatever they want, whether it's for kill team, whether it's for characters, whether it's for a display, whether it's for Titans.
I've seen more people doing that on 28mm models recently.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's the classic is on your Titanicus models, and it does look bloody good. But I've seen it more and more.
The classic is actually Necromunda, because we used to have to paint them on.
True. You could argue Blood Bowl as well.
Yeah.
But you tended to see it painted on, as you say. Painted on, yeah. But the the most common application I've seen of it is on Titanicus because it's just cool.
I think any squad-based kind of thing where you've got, a dozen miniatures, but they have that bit more personality. And people use them for their D&D miniatures as well, things like that as well, characters. So anything where the character is coming through. But sometimes, display pieces, or just if you've got a named Praetor that you use all the time, and there's a backstory for it. So go and check out Versatile Terrain, and they do some pretty cool stuff. I'll try and remember to put the link in the show notes, but we shall see. All right, Heresy. Have you been playing?
Well, yes, kind of. I've not done anything like as much hobby. It's been a pretty punishing learning curve, this whole fatherhood business. Turns out, takes up a bit of time. But did get one weekend in since we've last spoken, where my good friend Stu, friend of the show, Stu, is heading off to the other side of the world to help build the Heresy community over there. He says he's going for work. He's not. He's clearly going to fly the flag for Heresy over in that southern land of Australia. So we had a bit of a celebration. A few of us went over to his place because he has all the toys. He's very, very generously was letting us play with some of those toys, and we got them all out along with a new friend Tom. He was there. Thomas was there, and our friend Ant. So that was. I think we totaled up. It was rather appropriately around 30,000 points of models on
Oh,
the table. It was fairly ridiculous. It was all of Tom's stuff as well. He has an incredible looking word bearer's army. Really is beautiful. Every piece really worked up. He was word bearers through and through. But I mean, we'll forgive him for that.
yeah.
But it was he brought them, and then down Anton him playing traitor, and Stu and I doing that. We got fairly roundly kicked hard early on. we played in a slightly strange T-shaped arrangement table, and we were on the long, thin
Right.
board, and they had everything, and we had some of our stuff with a view to bringing some of the other things in reserve. Turns out 15,000 points of shooting is fairly, including a warhound, it's fairly serious business. So we had to bring on some fairly emergency reserves, and then it kind of swung the other way. But I think the traitors took the day. Certainly, they took the moral victory. Where, it was a hell of a game. Though it did take us best part of 2 days to really get into it.
I have. I've moved away from when people are saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to at this event. We'll set up a big table and play a big game," and I tend to drift away from it where possible now.
It was mentally and to a lesser degree physically draining. It really was, and it's got a certain look. I enjoyed as much the spectacle of it, incredible, and there were some moments. 2 fire raptors, 2 word bearers fire raptors screaming down the long table and gunning down the survivors of this massive Imperial bunker that had been demolished by serious heavy fire. And I had like 2, 3 Imperial Fist survivors, banner bearer, the champion with his sword out, and a guy with a grav gun or something beside them, and these things coming down, just strafing the grav. There's moments like that. Big games come into their own. They're like, okay, that's pretty cool. We don't tend to get
there's
that.
elements of it, but it's a lot
but
of work to get those.
Oh Christ, yes.
So back when, what's the large scale Warhammer 40k?
Apocalypse.
When Apocalypse came out, we used to play a few different Apocalypse games back in the day, and it was quite good fun. But we didn't have the table space. We used to play on the floor.
Mm.
It's just
there's something about that is just fundamentally nerve-wracking.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Just be careful, make this. But it was back-breaking and so tiring.
Yeah.
But, hey,
I've got to say, we played some Zone Mortalis games, and we played them deliberately small. I think we did 1,000 points. We had 2 games running in parallel. Ant and I were characteristically slow. He and I were doing Alpha Legion versus Imperial Fists in a sort of space station setup.
Yeah.
And across the way, we had Sons of Horus versus somebody else that I've forgotten, and that was a fairly brutal. They were both pretty brutal games, but they were really fun. Just small numbers of units moving around. It was really cool, punchy. It was great, sort of Friday night game to play through. I enjoyed that as much in a very different way.
Awesome stuff. It's nice to see new people joining your little friendship group. I've never been invited up, listeners.
We've got to have some standards. You see,
we've got to another riff-raff up from the villages, from the rural area.
Exactly. Outside the M25, is that really
shocking? Absolutely shocking.
He says, not being of this smoky city myself, that's fairly hypocritical. I'm just waiting until we've got the new game space, so I can lavish the attention, can lay out roll out the red carpet that clearly you require.
You've heard that, all listeners.
I'm committed now.
And replay it as and when required. It's all fine. Awesome. I did play. We will talk about that a little bit, but I had a game with some new old toys, which was good fun. And I did see last night at the club, one of the guys trying to get into the game was like, it's quite funny. He's come up, I don't see the problem with this. I don't see the problem with that. And he'd organised a game where he could use Fury of the Ancients and all of his dreads. He's got a lot of dreads. And Guy, the Raven Guard player, made an army to face Fury of the Agents, so
Awesome.
was prepared for it.
Awesome.
And it looked quite interesting. I think it was fairly close, although Matt's protestations that it was all over, and it was like, well, I mean, you've still got that Leviathan, those two contemptors, okay, yeah.
What does an
correct.
anti-Fury of the Ancients list look like?
It looks like
as many Thunderhammers as you can fit in a list.
A few Thunderhammers, Korax, what else did he have? He had Mordathan with. I can't remember what guns they had. He had Mordathan. He had a big unit of Talons with Korax, or a decent size
Talons
unit.
are pretty. Oh no, Talons, not Furies.
Furies, sorry, yeah, Furies with the Talons.
Oh, got it. Yeah,
because
they're pretty brutal, aren't they?
Yeah, well,
I've got to stop using that word. It's meaning. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you are stripping through dreads with that and Chaplain in there as well for the rerolls to make sure you're hitting. What else did he have? An Arcus. I think he had. He was talking about Disintegrator pistol Moritat. I'm not sure if he had that or not. I think he had some Melter teams as well. He did kill quite a few dreadnoughts, but you really had to set up to kind of do it. So that was a bit of looked like a fun game for sure. Like both people going in knowing what they're getting into. Helps with a full-on Fury of the Ancients list. Because otherwise it can be a bit.
What legion was the Fury?
Iron Hands.
Of course it was. I was thinking,
Matt does collect Iron Hands, and he does love.
Long time Iron Hands player.
40k, he's played them a little while, but yeah, it was good to see. There's a few more 30k players like popping out of the woodwork and stuff, which is always good. But I played the one game. I haven't done much hobby. I've been trying to sort this room out. I've got a model that needs to be painted by the time this comes out, really. Hopefully, fingers crossed, will be. But you've been managing to crack on, or has house and baby been taking up all the time?
Entirely. Just consumed. I have, however, and I can't remember if that was before or after we last spoke, but I have now nailed my Alpha Legion colour scheme. I've written it down in an app and everything. Yeah, that's right.
In an app.
Pretty organised here. So finally happy with that.
I use Google Sheets now.
That counts. That's fine.
Trying to find that model I need to paint. Typically, I don't know where it's gone.
If it's the model I think it is, it's entirely appropriate that you can't find it.
It's spray painted black and it's disappeared somewhere.
Ideal.
Which is good. I will find it at some point, I'm sure. Maybe.
So I got some Alpha Legion that I keep being very keen to get the sort of secondary colours done, all the sort of black guns and pouches and stuff. I do love the Alpha Legion colour scheme. It looks cool.
Yeah. I don't know if I would do it. I think I might do an alternative scheme. But,
there's some cool scope for that. Really
exactly.
is. I saw someone do a mock-up the other day of a load of the different colour schemes because in their black book it mentions a paragraph about the livery of the Alpha Legion, and it says there are verified reports of Alpha Legion units in the following colours. It just goes through a whole long list entirely appropriately, and some of them are sort of wild how they've got these mixed colours. And someone did a little mock-up of them all, and it was like, oh, that's quite cool to try out some of these alternative schemes.
I found one model. That's good to know. I can't have gone far, but yeah, I found it. Alpha Legion. Yeah, there's loads of cool stuff. I think there's loads of cool stuff you can do with all the legions.
There is, of course.
I kind of sort of wish people would kind of experiment just a touch more.
It's true, but it's tricky because the core schemes are quite cool, and it's quite difficult to do. Well, this is what's attracting me to this. But you're right. Allied forces, particularly, you think, particularly when you built up a bit of a collection. You're like, oh, I'm going to try something out now. I had that conversation with someone about a friend of mine, Ant. He was talking about he's having Dark Angels painted, big Dark Angels fan, and he was agonising over what colour to paint the Cenobium Knights. Because there's the alternate scheme that they showed in the exemplary battles, the white version of them, not bone white, not Deathwing bone white, but the latter Deathwing bone white, but the sort of ice white thing, which I thought, yeah, it was interesting. He was considering it. He decided to stick with the classic, but they are out there, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely, and it's yeah. My only problem is like you choose your color or whatever. It's the thought that you need to have the proper scheme. Like I always find that a little bit hard to bite my tongue and be like, paint them within reason, however you want. Like proper schemes are an almost an irrelevance, particularly when you get to Alpha Legion and Sons of Horus, when no two armies are painted the same.
Well,
Space Wolves are the same. Every Space Wolves army is a slightly different shaded grey. Like,
every I thought John French, I think it's in the Sigismund book, specifically calls that out. It's like, yeah, here's a group of guys giving their oaths in the temple, and they're all different colours. And you're like, yeah, okay, that's fair.
Yeah, it might become hard to do a whole army of.
Oh yeah. Although I'm sure that it would be feasible, but it just depends what you want to do.
Yes. Yeah.
So you've played some games. Hobbies sounds like it's been similarly quiet as mine might have been, or has it not? Or have you been secretly developing vast armies?
Sweet enough. Getting this room sorted, getting stuff out of the way. Next role, well, actually, this room is not sorted. It is tidy. It still needs to be finished. And then the garage needs to be sorted. And then this desk needs to be cleared. And then we can hobby when I find time. But we will see. So we'll move on from that because we will talk about games later. So just after we recorded, I can't remember if I mentioned it on the outro to last show, but just after recording and talking about the different assassins, we got the Adamus assassin,
which is particularly exciting. It was a whole new clade which we haven't heard about before. That I'm aware of, anyway. I don't recall that even coming up in the style of the assassin. Yes, very much so. A brilliant callback, I thought, to a classic of the Rogue Trader era. But the name, hadn't heard that before.
No, and I was trying to work out when I looked at the name, I was like, oh, that's an interesting one. I think here we go, the oldest of the formal orders of assassins. So that's where I think the Adamus probably comes from, as in Adam and all that. And it's a classic assassin. By the sounds of it. Well, I say actually, well, stuff it. We kind of know because this is coming up. Forgotten about the behind the scenes that we actually record. This is coming out where we can talk about it. So, more of a classic assassin, and I say we'll get more into them later on. But it's a lovely model. It goes together fairly well because this is a secret model that I did have actually. I'll turn the light because it is black. But it goes together pretty well. That contact point is not particularly huge, but then it's a very light model, so that's fine. Bit of fun trying to fit the backpack and the hand around the sword hilt, but nothing over the top.
It looks cool.
I think it's got that real classic. Eye, like the way they've done that. That's not happening.
The what, sorry?
The eye.
Oh, right.
The actual eyes.
Yeah, that's a bit of a commitment, then.
Yeah, but we might talk about assassins a little bit later. So what else did we get? We got a Corswain.
I love that model.
A mini
Such a
lion.
nice model. probably my favourite of the. We had two. Well, I don't know. Actually, all the Dark Angels characters are cool, but he's a
The
particular the
helmeted head
helmeted
or
one.
the
The
yeah, the
helmeted.
helmeted one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not a huge fan of the. It might be the paint job, but the teeth, Cawthorne's teeth, not really doing it for me. It's a bit
there's
of a
some nice
look there.
veneers, isn't he?
A bit of a look there, but the helmeted head, yes, please.
He just does look like. I mean, if you put him next to the lion, it looks like step away from my son.
Yeah,
Which is not a
which
bad
is,
thing. It's
I was
obviously
going to say
designed
that's
to be that way.
entirely kind of broadly feasible.
Yeah, Dark Angels continuing to be one of the best whole lines of
Yeah, I would agree with that.
models out there.
Hard to argue with that.
Yeah, some more made to order things. Great, cool. Woo.
You don't sound terribly enthused
It's
about that.
news, isn't it? It's been and gone. I was just looking through some audio books. Rah, 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 rah. I don't know why I put that up there at all. Blood Angels helmets.
Wasn't a huge fan, but equally not. A friend of mine pointed out that they are. Perhaps it was Dan pointed out they were a bit more Thousand Suns. He felt they had a certain Thousand Suns aesthetic to
Someone
them, and
else
I
has
kind
said
of agree
that.
with him.
Don't know what else they would have done.
No, I agree. Because it appears that with virtually all of these, the aim is to keep the beaky kind of silhouette going on.
I quite like that the beak's different, which I've only just
Yes.
noticed how different it is, and I like that actually. I think that's really cool. But yeah, the gold lines, I'm not. Cool. I don't hate them.
I'm a big fan. No, I was similar. I wasn't. Oh wow, that's super cool. But equally, I wasn't like, oh no, I don't like that at all. There's certain things with the style of the older upgrade heads that I thought were very cool. I thought they were about somewhere between 60 and 70% hit, and the others not so much. But some of those were really cool, and I wondered if they would just apply some of that styling to the Mark VI helmet. Some of this, sort of the elaborate filigree iconography or stuff like that. It's got a bit less of that. I don't, as you say, don't hate them, but they didn't make me think, oh wow, super.
I wonder if there's something about the Mark VI heads which makes it harder to play around with, because people love the Mark IVs. Is it? Yeah, the Mark IVs. Maybe there's just a bit more play in the shape of. Because the problem is it's quite a bare head, isn't it, on a Mark VI? Like the actual top of it is just a rounded dome, whereas the Mark IV you've got the vent or whatever it is in there, and allows you to play around it without it making it look like you've just stuck something on top of the head.
Of having now looked at the set of 3 different designs, or 4 if you include the Sergeant, actually there is far more going on in those than I thought. I think it's unfortunate they chose probably the most plain of the 4 as the one that they use in the sort of the on body shot. I did see quite a few people put up an image of the unhelmeted head with a picture of Prince Charming from Shrek beside it.
Definitely
that's tricky to. And then a slightly perhaps more straightforward one was Jaime Lannister.
Yeah. My problem with that is, right, it's like the Xiphon looks like a Viper from Battlestar Galactica, and it's like, well, hold on, like how many different ways can you design a sleek, fast one pilot ship?
Same with this, yeah.
How many times can you do a head? Like if you whatever head
classic heroic noble thing, yeah, quite.
Someone's going to come out with like, and even if it's not that, they'll come out with like, oh, it looks like Danny DeVito, or it looks like whoever. Like, it's always going to remind people of someone. So the memes just tire me out a little bit. Well, no, sorry, they don't. Like, well, 90% of memes tire me out because they're terrible. But I don't mind the thing, but it's when it's used as a detractor.
I agree with that. I agree. If it's delivered in a snarky way or a negative way, if it's just this, well, that's tedious. Yeah, I agree with you on that. That's tedious. Similarly, if it's overdone, then that's over the top. As a one-off, sort of, this is an amusing
Mm.
comparison. Yes, then move on. Yeah, that's fine. Funnily
Yes.
enough, having now looked at these again, the one that they've chosen to use as the sort of promotional image, I think, is the weakest. The others actually look quite cool, like you say, with the slightly different nose cones.
Yeah, I just wonder if they did try putting stuff on top of the head and then were like, well, it doesn't work. Although, saying that, let's move on to the Night Lord's heads because it's related. They have got the vent at the top, which can help break up.
The which
So
one, sorry?
if the
Night
Night
Lords.
Lord's heads,
Mm.
they have got that piece on the top. I do think there's an element of, even with the old Mark IV, there's one with a blood droplet on the top of the head, and it does it becomes awfully close to helmet with something stuck on it, like rather than being part of that helmet. So it becomes. They could have done, rather than those plain ones that we had, they could have done the tier, the simple tier as their base one, which would have carried it into other helmets they've done in the past, which would have been a really good idea.
That's
think.
what so I'm slightly surprised they didn't reference.
Yeah.
Surprised, and I do mean surprised, not disappointed or otherwise. I thought that's a route they would go. They'd take the design styles they'd already had and run with them, and they didn't. They'd just done some new ones. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. More variety, fine. More
Indeed.
design.
The Night Lords
I just
ones,
happen to like those. What's your feelings on this?
I'm kind of shocked by how much I like them.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're kind of groovy. I think they're menacing.
Mm.
Um,
I would imagine
they're
I would probably take to them more. I find the painting of what I presume is a tube that's in
right.
red on, I think, all of them. Yes,
A little
I
bit
find
too
that an odd.
standoutish.
Yeah, it draws my eye too much,
It
particularly away from the eye. I think the eye would be so much stronger if it was the only point
maybe.
of red in the head. Other than that, I agree with you. Paint
Yeah.
that black, job done.
Yeah. I think that could work.
They could have been awful. they they could have really
They could
gone
have
in a
rivaled
really cartoony,
Warhelms.
terrible direction. I think the bear head on this one's particularly cool.
Yeah. There's no bear. No, but yeah, the helmetless head is one of the best they've done.
Yeah, I agree.
I,
Really
I,
characterful.
I
Love it.
like. They often go for statuette, heroic kind of heads, which is where I think you do get a lot of those comparisons coming from. But I like the beaten up. I like the slightly.
Yeah, agreed.
They do. There is a fine line because people then, who was it? Was it one of the Games Workshop ones you could get in store? Where they're like, "Oh, look at him, he's ugly." And it's like,
Yes.
yeah, he's been fighting for 200 years. Like,
Yeah.
you're allowed ugly Space Marines. That's
Arguably, that's probably more where they should be.
I mean, yeah, I mean they should be slightly less, not quite human anyway. But yeah, hey ho, it is what it is. Yeah, the helmet, the headless, that will be in demand. That bear
Yeah,
head.
that's really cool. I think that's
Yeah.
a very, very characterful head.
I think the Night Lords came out of that really well. They could
Yeah, I
easily
agree
have
with you.
not come out of it
Considering
that well.
there was a bit of a fear that they could have gone
And
a route that was not perhaps as favourable.
if you want some alternative Death Swarm for your Space Wolves, there's potential to steal those as well.
Too much of a stretch to say a chaplain's helmet?
I think you could potentially, yeah. If it's one of those helmets in an army,
Yeah,
it's kind of funky. I think you could in the right way, the right legion with the right army
Yeah.
type could work. Yes, wonderful. What else do we have?
We also had a
Predators.
Predator. Yes.
Cool.
Predator 2, The Return.
The more what was it? What was Predator 2 called?
I can't remember now. Predators.
Yeah,
Just called Predator 2.
I think it's just called Predator 2, but it must have.
so.
And this is the early 90s. It must have had a. Does it not have a tag?
No, it didn't. It's just Predator 2.
He's in town with a few days to kill. Yeah, no. Just Predator 2. Yeah, I mean, cool weapon options.
Yeah.
Not a bad thing, is it?
Including the new one, the Neutron. There it is, the Neutron
Yes,
Blaster.
it has got, because you got the conversion beamer as well, and then the neutron. Yes, you've got.
I thought it was
It's
quite
cool.
cool with
It is
these
cool.
ones that they sort of classify these as this is the support Predator. So they've given it slightly more kit around the back of the turret.
Yeah,
I thought it was quite cool.
make them stand out a little bit, which is what you can do
Mm.
when when you've got them on file now. It becomes easy to
Mm.
just going and adapt
Do you have a favourite?
rules or model.
Both.
I have. Let me just have a little look.
And the conversion beamer is an interesting. Feels like it's a variant on that. It's a slightly more sleek, almost slightly more baroque version of the standard conversion beamer, but a bit more of a sweeping curve to it compared to the others we've seen.
Yeah, it's always hard to look past the melter cannon because it's just
Mm.
brutal.
Classic. The flamer looks cool.
Yeah, I don't think it'll get used much, but
No, it's rules. It's not for me. But it's look wise, it looks awesome.
yeah, no,
Rules wise, the plasma destroyer is pretty potent.
yeah, I could see myself. Yeah, I haven't got a problem with any of them to be honest. I think it works
Mm.
pretty well. Works pretty darn well. And then what else did we get? Like so,
In
one
terms of new
last.
releases, that's about it, isn't it?
Yeah,
Through
well,
last
we
week.
did get the announcement today of the Heirs of the Emperor,
Oh yes, yes.
which is the collection anthology collection of the Primarch's shorts, including was it Blood of the Emperor, Signs of the Emperor, and Sons of the Emperor, and 5 more short stories.
There are also, I noticed in the Advent
Yeah,
thing,
for
there's
at
at
least
least
one.
one heresy story. Yeah.
Yeah, Mortarion. Sorry, Typhon dealing with his newest apprentice. So keep an eye out for them. They usually come, and so there's 12 of them, so they'll be every other day in December, pretty much. So yeah, that sounds cool. Bit more storage. Never a bad thing.
Hmm.
Um, but I think that's
And it's
about
cool
all.
that they're still working in the setting. So it would be all to. I mean, there was a suggestion, a concern that once they moved to the siege, that was it. No more
Well, no,
heresy.
I think that was
Oh, I think it's
fairly
unfounded.
disproved
I agree
with.
with you. I think it's unfounded, but it was a concern, and I think that's
Yeah,
a reasonable
yeah.
thing to be concerned about.
No, no, because I think I don't think it is that reasonable because I think they'd shown that they'd
They've righted
committed
the
to other
settings
things.
forever. Yeah,
Yeah, I think like
or perhaps
because
understandable rather than reasonable.
uh, I don't know. I don't know. Understandable if you don't keep up with these things,
Yeah,
but
fair
then
enough.
if you're collecting everything, why aren't you keeping up with these things a little bit? Like it's those people who are like, oh, I've been collecting all these books and I've gone to GW at 10 past 10 on a Saturday and the 1,000
Sold
limited
out.
edition copies have sold out. It's like, well, you know, that's the way it is. If you're trying to go to Glastonbury and you phone up, 2 days late after the tickets open, why expecting to get a ticket? It's like there's a little bit of common sense in that. Um, but yeah, we've got the Primarch's novels which aren't finished. We've got the character series novels which we've
Mm.
only got 3 or 4 in. Like we know there's going to be more of them. And they've even gone back and dealt with. Yeah, they've done this before. They've gone back into series that are finished and added bits in.
Mm.
So yeah, the heresy is not going to move on as a. Also, Games Workshop make money out of it. So and there
Mm.
are more stories to tell. For all the people who are like, oh, 54 books is way too much. Like, yes and no, but there are stories within the heresy that could be told, and ones certainly that are not near the main storyline
Mm.
that are still relevant or interesting. And why would Black Library turn their back on something which is always going to have a decent sales rate?
Mm.
Would be a bit silly, but hey, it's all good.
I
It's
think that was
all
all the terms in terms of literary. I don't think there's been much else out there.
not that I've seen.
Not new books, no, not yet.
Just waiting for more. So we're heading. We're in November now, so a few weeks of releases before they start like putting in the Christmas releases, which tend to be army boxes for 40k and Age of Sigmar. Are we going to get a plastic heresy?
Occasionally, because for example, the preset maniple, I believe was, and the Night Household was a Christmas box. The preset
Yes.
maniple was
Bit
supposed to
of,
be, but got delayed,
yeah.
and so it came out a bit later. But they do tend to do other game systems as well. They have done with Titanicus.
I don't think they tend to. I think they have done
That's a fair
occasionally.
point. That's a fair
Two
way of
years in
putting
a
it.
row is not a pattern.
It's not a
That's a
trend.
nice
Yeah, fair enough.
surprise.
Yeah,
Um,
fair enough.
but I would expect and other game system to have some, whether
Mm.
it is Heresy or, and it makes sense to Heresy. They could put together 20 Mark 6 Marines, something different. So like some Tartarus,
Mm.
Predator, and something else into a little box set.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
can see that being a thing.
because they have a couple of price points normally, don't they? Like £100 box and a £50 box or something like that. They can do different ones. So yeah, you could get that. Yeah, some Tartarus, a Predator, and some regular dudes, and a
It would
plastic
probably
plate.
have a value similar to the Age of Darkness box set, actually, but with a
Right.
different set with more of a model
Yeah,
set in it,
maybe.
because they're pretty good value. Those box sets, and they tend to sell out quick.
Yeah, I thought it was about 100 quid's worth of stuff, usually for about 60 or something like that. Could be
Oh, I thought
wrong.
they were bigger.
It
I thought they
might
were
be.
typically like,
I might be thinking about some of the other little mini releases they do.
yeah. I think these are
Through the
bigger.
year.
I think you generally expect to spend 100 to
Oh,
120.
you might be right because
These are bigger, yeah.
they're
But
bigger.
you get
AOS box had the vampire one, had the undead one, had the blood knights and the big beast and
yeah.
the 20 cripples.
The marine
Yeah.
ones are usually quite big. The one that really sold out was the Necron one because it was a pretty
Yes.
ideal
As a
segue on the
starter set.
side.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you added it onto Indomitus,
Yeah. That made it
it was
decent.
Indomitus? Yeah, which were the most recent
Yeah.
boxes. It was a pretty good add-on to that, so a lot of people went in for it. So about 100-ish,
I mean, if they
£120.
wanted to, yeah, they've got all the sprues there. They could just throw in like to expand your Mark 6. They could throw in Mark 3
Well,
Tartarus,
quite, which will sell.
new Predator. Yeah, exactly. Like anything of value, anything where the value's right, is going to sell because all the plastic stuff's good. So,
Well, the Mark threes and the Mark fours have been out of stock for I don't know how long.
oh yes, they have as well, haven't they?
So I wonder if so the demand is there for those.
Saying I should put mine all up on eBay and then rebuy them when they come back out at the regular price.
It's sounding awfully close to stocks and shares trading at that point. Bye
It's
bye
much
bye.
more geeks are much more reliable.
Yeah, why bother with commodities, man?
Too right, mate. Yeah, all that sailing across the Atlantic, it's not worth it. Um, yeah, no, it's I could easily see Heresy getting one, if
Yeah, I
not two
think so.
boxes.
Of any year, this would be the one that would be possible.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if it's the third game system, it should do. And the only difference being, it's one army. It's Marines. They're not going to differentiate between which
No,
army and that, and they haven't got plastic mechanicum. Um, whether they could put some Custodes and some sisters together and
could
make
do,
a
but I think it's
talons
more likely. I could see them. I think it's more likely that they'd be hitting
Marines.
the Marines, yeah, because
Oh yeah,
it
absolutely.
appeals to so many. I mean, it's apparently, we've said before, it's been extraordinarily successful for them, more so
Yeah.
than they expected, I think. So it'd be interesting to see if they do go for it with this to try and continue that, or whether they say, actually, we're selling enough of this as it is. We don't need
Well,
a loss leader.
there's some talk that there's a new box next year in the same style as the
Well, I've heard
40k.
this. I've heard
But
this.
I mean,
That's a
it's
running thing. Yeah.
yeah. Again, is it just one thing that's got said and then got echoed around? However, it is the kind of way they're looking at Age of Sigmar and 40k to bring out lots of these intro boxes.
It'd be interesting because next year we will probably, almost certainly, have 10th edition 40k.
Yeah,
So would there be? I mean, there wasn't another edition. I mean, okay, it's a slightly tricky thing because 2022 continues to be is the tail end of a weird few years, to say the least.
Yeah,
But we didn't have an edition released. Age of Sigmar was way before that. I think we didn't have Age of Sigmar as an edition this year, did we? The only the biggest launch probably was Heresy.
yeah, no, it was, yeah.
So I'm not sure you. Well, maybe they would. Maybe they do something
No, but
similar.
it's not a launch, is it? Like throughout, it seems like every year, Age of Sigmar 40k gets a set, which is there as the new intro starter set. So I could see something like that being being released.
That's true, because you could easily. I don't think this exists at the moment. I could see a set coming along that's kind of similar to what the Titanicus starter box is. There isn't a starter box, really.
No.
You could,
that could
I say that. Age of Sigmar. Age of Sigmar.
No,
Age of Darkness is a starter box. It's got a rule book
box.
in it. Yeah, it's actually, but it's just an expensive one.
Yeah,
As
exactly.
opposed to Sigmar and 40k, which have these sort of mixed price points, which I think are appealing to people. There's nothing like that for Heresy.
No, you could throw in. How much is that Age of Darkness box?
130 with retailers, so
yeah, let me have a little look.
180, I think, which is a lot. Which is a lot by any measure.
It's 180. Yeah. So
to walk into a Games Workshop and drop 180, I mean that's a.
I mean, I don't think that rulebook's ever going to get a small edition.
No.
If it did, that would be amazing. If I could get a small A5 rulebook and ring bound, and then I could ring.
Oh well, ring bound. That's a whole other ball game. Yeah, that would be all over.
I would do that. But
that's not unheard of. They did some of the not a rule book, but they did like the Torum manual or something like that. I think was ring bound.
Well, they used. I mean, yeah, no, but I don't think they would do it ring bound. I'd take it somewhere and get it ring bound.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's so much better when it is, and you can fold it all the way around. But yeah, they could easily do a smaller box that comes in at like 80 quid, and take that Land Raider down, as we said, to a Predator, maybe.
Take the Spartan down to a regular Raider,
or a regular one, or something. One of the many plastic options that they're going to have. Halve the amount of troops in it, and swap out instead of 10 Cataphracti, again 5 Terminators of some kind. Swap the characters around, bring back one of the characters they've got from another sprue to mix it up. You could do something like that. Whether they will or not, that's pure wish listing. But I would not be surprised.
But yes, it feels plausible, doesn't it?
Oh, I tell you what else we did get recently. Let me see if I can find it and look stuff up. Just killed. So we did get news of events. And
that's a good idea. Yes.
Trying to remember exactly what the news was as I scroll down said pages. But Games Workshop and did some little chat about events recently. He says, I can't find what I'm looking for now, which is always good. Well, they're opening the Tokyo Warhammer store, Warhammer Cafe. So you're ever over that way, so that will be open soon. So we got the announcement of Fest, as we talked about earlier, which is moving to a new venue, the Manchester Central.
Quite a nice looking venue. Huh?
Big. Looks pretty big. So an expansion of, and we talked about this, allowing, I think we certainly talked about it off air, having more people at Fest, therefore more people at Golden Demon, because it was hugely subscribed this year. And it will have the usual reveals, shopping, Golden Demon, tournaments, including Horus Heresy, whether that's a tournament or whatever, I do not know.
It's 3 days as well, isn't it?
It's 3 days over the bank holiday.
That's the first time that's happened.
Yeah, so well, again, makes sense if you're moving that far to add that extra day.
Well, quite, yeah.
No, it adds little cost relatively to potential more sales and all that, and more people coming in. Games area for 30k Community meets is interesting because I don't know anything about this. Throughout the weekend, there will be opportunities for fans and creators to network and make friends.
Network?
Fest is a chance to meet like-minded Games Workshop fans from all over the UK and beyond.
Yeah, cool.
No.
Some sort of
Cosplayers. Sorry, Karen?
Yeah, it would just be interesting, wouldn't it? Some sort of how do you do that? Because I remember they've done that. I think it was a Black Library weekend where they had these sort of round tables.
Batch, yeah.
Yeah, where you could just sort of sit and chat, which is cool. And I'm all for it. I think that's a really good thing. But I just wonder what format that will take.
Yeah, I think you sort of need a semi-official way of meeting people to break down barriers potentially. Cosplayers are going to be invited again because that's called Mega Pub Quiz.
Awesome.
So there is a website you can go to. It's the early May bank holiday, so 29th April, 1st of May, and deadline, blah 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 blah. There we go. You can purchase a day or a weekend ticket. So options there. But on top of that, they have announced the Horus Heresy, the Battle for Epsilon Stranavar 9, Thursday, the 2nd of February, a narrative play event. One day. Which got a lot of derision for being, I saw in certain group, for being on a weekday. But we live in a 24-hour, 7-day week society now. The amount of people, I always find it's quite funny. So most of my jobs have been Monday to Friday with a bit of Saturday, but I have done some shift work. It's amazing how many people are around. If for people who work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 or longer, they can sometimes be a bit blinkered by how many people don't.
You don't have to go very far.
No.
Anywhere. Go out on a day and you're like, what? How are all these people?
But also, if I'm going up there for a weekend, I might take the Friday off anyway. So it's no different if people are close enough to do a one-day event to just take a Thursday off and do it, and it allows them to use Warhammer World in a much more sustainable way, which is good. And there's like a mini painting competition for just the HQ. Also, if Steve's in charge of this, Steve just ran an event for Age of Sigmar. Or was it a Path to Glory event this weekend? And they had maps with reveals like Fog of War involved that got revealed on the big player map, and then going off to play games that then fed back into, like, it was a proper narrative event.
This sounds awesome.
In terms of stuff between the games and how it affected games, because proper narrative could be. I've kind of had a go at someone recently jokingly for saying they're playing a narrative event, and I was like, oh cool, can I take over your tank if I kill the crew, kind of thing. Because narrative can mean RPG in that respect, like full integration. But if they go the way that Steve said to me that they're going to concentrate on narrative for Heresy for this year.
That's nice, but it provides a nice alternative.
I suspect they might do tournaments for the big events, if they go and do their America series of events again, because tournaments are easy to run, less manpower. Set it off away it goes, answer some questions every now and then. But we shall see. No, that looks interesting, and keep an eye out. There should be a few more Heresy events at Warhammer World next year. So I think that's pretty cool. Awesome. Right, should we take a break there, and then we'll come back and talk Liber Imperium. Okie dokie. So, Games Workshop sent me a copy of the Liber Imperium, the Forces of the Emperor Army book, and we're going to have a look at a bit of it. And we're not doing a full review of armies or anything like that. We're diving in. at some point we will go and do army reviews, and we will work out exactly how we're doing it. But also, we
Doing a
will let that.
comparative way would be quite cool, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky to do without spending 5 hours doing it and being really boring. Also, I want the game to settle a little bit. I still think it hasn't settled. Like, I was only just in a group where some people were like, I've just realised, like, we have to change the way we're thinking. I was like, yeah, you do. Like, there's a lot of attitude around, or discussions about uh, the augury scanners should be banned. And it's like, well, if you ban augury scanners, then deep striking becomes king. Like, you have to do something to deep striking. So what do you do to deep striking? People are like, no, it's fine. I'm like, I don't know. Like,
it would be powerful.
Because people would build into it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Because at the moment they don't build into it because of augury scanners. So like, that balance is there, and the use of augury scanners will go up and down as people don't take deep striking stuff, or whatever. They'll start to slip out a little bit more and more because 25 points of augury scanners could be that thing you need somewhere else, and all that jazz. I mean, augury scanners have that issue where they still work during knife fighting, which is possibly the annoying bit of them.
There's some tweaks, though, isn't there? There's some tweaks you want
exactly
to make that, and then that suddenly becomes a very different conversation.
Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff, and the shooting reaction is too powerful and shouldn't be allowed. And it's like, well, again, there are ways around that.
They're reasonably limited, I think.
Yeah,
powerful,
if you're
yes, but then you've got to have some consequences for the stuff.
If you're going to shoot some, let's look at Iron Warriors, missile dudes. Like, if you're worried about them, but you've got an armor 15 effective tank,
yeah,
they can't hurt you. So you can fire your las cannons into them and kill 2 or 3, and then all of a sudden, like, you're playing the game. You're and there are ways to do it. And it's not perfect. I'm not saying it's perfect, and I'm not apologising for GW or anything like that. But I think we're still very early in that whole process. But we shall see. So, the Liber Imperium. We have a number of army lists. In fact, that was revealed anyway, wasn't it? The contents page was shown off. The Legio Custodes armies list, the Sisters of Silence army list, which are now, so they're 2 separate armies now. Solar Auxillia and the Divisio Assassinorum. And appendices. The first thing I think to notice is the quantity of new Sisters of Silence entries.
Well, indeed, I think it's quite a big book, actually.
Yeah.
There's something about, I mean, there's quite a lot of units in Mechanicum, but when you've got used to, because we've had them a while, the two the Liber Astartes, Liber Hereticus, they're big. Mechanicum was quite a step down. It was the one faction, but quite a big faction, but really one faction. This feels like it's got a lot in it, and as you say, Sisters are the ones who have been expanded. The others haven't really. There's variations and options and things in there that weren't there before.
But we'll get onto them. But
expanded, haven't they?
With the idea that things that are in the books are going to get supported, it suggests we might be getting some cool new stuff as we go through. We'll kind of break it down a little bit. But what was interesting, so I used Custodes list with some Sisters of Silence against, what did I play against?
You mean recently or in previous editions?
This book used it. This book to play a game with against some, I can't remember what legion he was using. Some Space Marines of some variety.
Some kind of lesser warrior,
Very much so. Very much so. And I've only got a limited selection of Custodes stuff, and I was just kind of like, let's take some of that, and oh cool, let's take some of that, and Sisters bits, let's take some of that. So by far, it's not a perfect kind of look at how powerful the whole army list is.
It's interesting that you had a blended force, because I know I had heard some people saying they had the impression that it was going in the direction of 2 separate lists.
Well, they also
said, that's a shame. Yes, no, absolutely. I knew you could, but I knew people would be concerned and say, "Oh no, it's one." I could think of was a person in a chat group I'm part of was quite vocal about it. So no, they work together. They should be one list. I think, well, yeah, but they can still work together as two forces in the same way that lots of marine forces fought together. I think that's perfectly viable. So it's good that you were trying that out.
Well, the one thing that
Interesting.
splitting the lists up does is it allows you more room to play around with the rules. Um, so Janisha Kroll's old warlord trait was that D3 units can make a 6-inch scout move effectively. So if you put that in an army with mixed units, your big unit of spear wielding Custodes can start 6 inches up the board, and you are making charges into the deployment zone turn 2.
Mm.
So you remove a bit of that. Cool. So the first thing I noticed, I was like, right, made a list, whatever, just take some bits and pieces. Oh yeah, cool. Warlord trait. I haven't even thought about that yet. So let's look at the warlord trait for Legio Custodes. The options. Oh, there aren't options. There is one.
Mm.
Uh,
You're taking one, and I like the justification for that as well. It's quite fun.
yeah, so you're taking one, which is any combat with at least one friendly model within 12 inches, or combat which includes a warlord with a trait gains +1 to the number of wounds caused. In addition, while engaging in a challenger, warlord with this trait adds a bonus of +1 to their attacks and initiative characteristics. Cool. Decent. Nothing over the top, really, compared to what you
I
could.
thought it was fairly solid, actually.
Yeah,
Considering with the way the flavor text sets it up, basically saying, well, they don't really need warlords because they're all awesome. And I thought, this is set up for this is going to be a bit tame or situational. I actually thought it was pretty good. It's a solid one.
yeah.
It's not world bending, but
It's not going to take the world alight.
no,
How
but
many how
it's
many
pretty good.
times your leader of your custodian force is going to need +1 attacks and initiative in combat? Might be limited, but hey, it is
Well,
what
you're
it
not going to
is.
say no, are you?
What's interesting is there's a lack of an additional reaction.
Hmm. Well, that's the point. Yes.
Yeah, and when you combine that with looking on this page to try and find the advanced reaction, you would find there is no advanced reaction.
Hmm.
And from what I understand, that's very purposeful, no advanced reaction, because keeping that kind of out of the hands of certain things. And no additional reaction because Custodes are still, I think, supposed to be reasonably powerful.
Hmm.
Um, but hey, cool. We'll see how that works out down the line. We've had the Nemesis units revealed last month on Warcom, but as a reminder, all Legio Custodes units, which includes things like Dreadnoughts, have a rule that involves Nemesis units. So Nemesis units are a unit that includes one or more models with at least one of the following unit types or unit subtypes: Primarch, Dreadnought, Monstrous, Reinforced, Bombard, Demon, Corrupted, Super Heavy, Unique, or Knight.
Hmm.
So actually a little bit of a range there, because Reinforced can appear on some tanks and things like that as well. Obviously, Demon and Corrupted will be those things, but also things like Marigal and Corrupted,
Hmm.
stuff like that. Or the majority of the models okay, that changes things. The majority of models in the unit have a value of 5 or more in any one of the following characteristics: weapon skill, ballistic skill, wounds, or initiative,
Hmm.
which is quite a wild thing. That's right, I was playing Alpha Legion. He had Lernian Terminators, which are weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 4. They were not Nemesis units. That was annoying.
That's fascinating because that's been a
Yes.
major gripe of Alpha Legion players, of which there are many. Interesting,
Well,
so seem to be a very popular Legion, and that they've got that. What is it? Lernian exemplars or what are Hydran exemplars? It gives them +1 to hit in
right.
again. Well, no, you select. I think someone of the you select a Legion Astartes rule, and against that, so i.e.,
Yes.
you pick your opponent, you get +1 to hit, which is fine. So it's sort of effective weapon skill 5. Yeah, when you're on the attack, it is not when you're in defense. So the weapon skill 5 is better because it helps you in defense. It helps knock others down, whereas their rule only benefits them in when they're attacking. So people have complained about that when they are the cost that they are. They are, however, line, which is relatively rare in the Legion of League Terminators, kinda. And as you say, they're not nemesis for the purposes of these guys.
Yeah, which is a niche thing, but they're not nemesis. So it's weapon skill, ballistic skill, wounds, or initiative. Or the unit contains an enemy warlord.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are fighting against a nemesis unit, you get +1 attack. When locked in combat with them, you get a +1 to charge. That's it. And this is if your unit's completely got that unit, that rule. And then you can never hit on... Enemies can never hit you on better than a 4.
I find that strangely worded. Yeah, no better than.
So enemies can only hit you on a 4 or better unless they're Primarchs. They ignore that. Or the attacking model is in a challenge with a model that has the Primarch unit type.
So an enemy is never going to hit you on a 3 unless they're a Primarch or a 2.
Yeah.
Is that how you read it?
No. So yeah, Primarchs ignore this rule.
Yep.
There is one model in the Custodes range which has a Primarch subtype.
Yes.
Which I didn't read properly when I read through it the first time. So people fighting him ignore that rule as well.
Yes, but it means that enemies fighting your Custodes,
generally,
will never be
almost
better than
all the time, 4 up is the best you can hit them on.
Yeah.
Which is quite powerful, really, because although
they
are weapon skill 5, it means Praetors, things like that. I'm going to be able to whoop on the small dudes. We're not going to go unit by unit. It's not going to happen. Constantine Valdor.
There's too much here, isn't there?
Yeah, Constantine Valdor, 350 points. Unit type, Primarch. So we were looking through this, and it's easily done. He's got special rule Lightning Blow, 6+, and his Apollonian Spear has the special rule Lightning Blows, swapped over. But what I didn't see was various of the other rules in there, and I was like, oh, he hasn't got Eternal Warrior. He's a Primarch as a unit type, so he gets all those additional Primarch rules, which means he can always select who he's hitting in combat and ignores a load of negative modifiers. His
precision strikes, precision shots.
His stats can never be altered and all that jazz. So I was like, oh, okay, that changes a few things. He's still baller, he's weapon skill 7 with 5 attacks against the things you want to. Initiative 6 against the things you want to throw him into. He's probably getting an initial attack from them being a nemesis as well. So all that kind of stuff. He's got a 2 up. Was it 4 up? 3 up. Sorry, it's 2 up, 3 up invaluable save, and any loyalist. Any model with a loyalist allegiance that draws sight to him or are locked in combat and the same combat as him uses leadership of 10, which is a nice touch. He is bolstering stuff around, and he's strength 5 base with a +2 strength, AP2 weapon with murderous strike 4+.
Murderous strike 4+. Oof.
It's not bad. It's not bad at all, and it's a specialist weapon. Is it two-handed? No. So I don't think there's Misericordia in here, but I don't think that's a specialist weapon. And he's got metal bombs.
The hyper velocity bolter on the Apollonian Spear is fairly.
Assault 2, concussive 1, strength 5, AP2 at 18-inch range isn't too bad either. No. However, we'll get into that in a little bit. If you want to take a teleport transponder array, it's 125 points though.
When I first saw that, I thought, what? It's quite high, and you think, to be able to teleport him is 125 points. Obviously powerful to be able to teleport him. But then you read what the teleport transponder does.
Which is in the back of the book somewhere, because that is a problem with this book.
But it allows you, for every character that you have with a transponder array, you can deep strike up to 3 additional units from the army.
And when you could be deep striking things like the Terminators or what have you, yeah, there could be a lot of. And bearing in mind, you can
Terminators
charge now.
presumably. Can you teleport the dreadnoughts?
If it just says three,
That's very
if it says 3 units, it depends what
it's
the
whether
rule
or not it
says.
says 3 units or whether it says 3 infantry units.
Yeah, it does. Because again, you could bring down jet bikes and things like that as well.
Yes, they have deep strike anyway.
Yeah, but it's, it's
There we go.
because there are. That is one problem with this book. So, what page are these?
Model, it's I can't tell you. A model of the teleport transporter array gains deep strike special rule. In addition, Legio Custodes sub-faction that includes one or more models of the teleport transporter array may select up to 3. So the maximum you could have is 3. Can't.
3
it's not
units
per character.
for each model. Yeah, and it just says units. They must have Legio Custodes and infantry, but
right, and infantry. To be fair, most of their vehicles deep strike anyway because they're all grav.
Yeah, but you can't do dreads, which is fair enough. But you can do Aquilon Terminators and other stuff. There's a lot of equipment in this book because a lot of it is repeated as well. Because it has to be, and special rules as well. So that's 19 pages. So new special rules and new subtypes as well. There's 30 odd pages for rules and weapon profiles in the back because of the nature of some repeat stuff, but also a lot of new stuff. You've got Hateran Guard, you've got Aquilon Guard.
The Tribune he's 0 to 1, and you can only take the Custodian Tribune is 0 to 1.
Yeah.
And just out of interest, just flicking through them, and you can only take them in an army of at least 3,000 points.
Yeah, and the Shield Captain and Tribune are different entries. Yeah. What is interesting, I probably should have prepared this with sticky notes everywhere because coming back and forth, like trying to find out. Yeah, well, we probably should talk about this actually. So there are 3 types of Custodian armor.
Oh yeah.
So 4 types because you've got Terminator armor. So Auric Warplate is the base one, the one we're familiar with for base dudes. It's a 2-up armor save, but it's been reduced to a 6+ invulnerable save. Auric Demiplate, which is things like the flappy Venatari, but there's other stuff as well, I think.
The jet bike guys, I think.
Jet bike guys have got it, which is crazy, really. Is a 3+ save with a 6+ invulnerable save. So considerably, like the jet bikes particularly, considerably less survivable. Then you've got Auric Battle Plate, which is things like characters and stuff like that. 2+, 4+. Yeah, Tribunes. And then you've got the Aquilon Pattern Terminator armor, which is 2+, 4+ as well. What's interesting is your Tribune has Aquilon Battle Plate. Does he not, base? I'm sure he does.
Who does?
No, he has Auric. Sorry, he has Auric Battle Plate. So he has a 2+.
Yeah, 2+, 6+.
4+.
No, he's got the Auric. There's Auric Battle Plate.
He's got the Battle Plate rather than the War Plate.
Yes, it's Battle Plate and War Plate. Which I would have said the Battle Plate should have been on the... Anyway, it doesn't matter. I would have thought the War Plate sounds grander on the menu. But Battle Plate is the one that's got the 4+.
But you can also have the Presidium Shields. So Presidium Shields give you a 4+ invulnerable that does not stack. It don't get the 2-handed. Cannot claim bonus tax for having more than 1 melee weapon, blah, 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 blah. So you can give your Tribune a big shield.
What's the benefit in that?
There is none. It's just the second invulnerable save. That's the same as the first one.
That's what I was wondering. There's no benefit in giving them this. I mean, it's there and it's free.
It is free. It's absolutely pointless because, although saying that, all that means is you can't use a 2-handed weapon because it comes with a Guardian Spear, but you can't take a second weapon. You may replace your Guardian Spear with one. Well, you can because Meridian Swords can do funky stuff. So, yeah, the shield means nothing. It looks cool. Like,
yeah, that's it. That's all.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to see the way they've changed that. So your troops are slightly less survivable.
Yes.
Because of that. Let's
The
try.
jet bike is indeed a 3+ save, which is a bit of a surprise.
Yeah, you told me about it when they were shooting me. It was most disappointing. I'm trying to find now because there is the Misericordia, and I think
That has rules now.
it does have rules. But again, this is like this book follows the nature of the other books in that you try and find the Misericordia, and it's never where you think it will be. I'm trying to look it up now. No, it's not there. It's not there. It's not there. Why would they put it anywhere the way you think it would be? Um, I'm going to give up looking for it because it's a combat weapon.
I'll look it up in the background.
You can do. Oh no, I found it now. Here we go.
Of course he has.
It's in the exotic and miscellaneous weapons.
There it is.
It is strength 4, melee, instant death. They all have it. So, you still got a wound. That is the problem. But basically, everything has a Misericordia. So you do have that option to ignore whatever weapon you've got. And some of the weapons aren't as powerful as they used to be. So that is an option. I suppose you could run into a contemptor and just hope they roll a 1 if you really need to with one dude. Like, could be worth it. Anyway,
I've got the feeling that more things. I haven't cross-checked this with the old black books, but I've got a feeling that there's more of the axes. I don't think you could take as many of the axes with the things that are on the 40k Warden kit, the kind of Guardian axes or Warden axes, the equivalent of. There's much more of that in the list. What is new, I don't think you could take Meridian swords before.
No,
I don't think they were a thing. They're a new thing for this, which the characters can take, and the Hatrian. Am I pronouncing that right?
Haterian Guard. Yeah.
They are cool.
There is some cool stuff. We'll have a look at those in a bit. So I took a Telemon, a Spear Dread, a couple of units of Spear guys, a couple of units of Sword guys with some shields in there, 2 units of 3 Venatari, a unit of jet bikes, a small shooty tank.
It's quite a big game then.
3,000 points. And then some sisters. We'll talk about the sisters later. And we were playing lengthways across the board, so it's quite a big gap. And he had a Leviathan sat in the middle of the board with twin melter, and I was like, if I step forwards, that's going to kill whatever unit it shoots at. So to try and play the range game, and because he was Alpha Legion, one would be 6 inches further away, or it was 2 inches further away. So that was tricky because things like the Telemon Storm Blaze Cannon is now 12-inch range, which I just didn't even look at until we played it. So I was like, that's fine, that's cool. Let's go to my jet bikes and let's shoot them at a Dreadnought. They are strength 9. They have, try and remember the weapon names as well.
Some kind of, was it the Las Pulsar?
The Las Pulsar was the one.
Or was it the Adrathic Devastator?
No. So again, I didn't take the Adrathic stuff in this one, and maybe need to look at that a little bit more. So the Las in the old, and I'm not going to jump too much into like, they used to do this. It used to be a D3 fired Las cannon. Now they have. So I was just basing it off of that. What are they called again? The
Corvée Las Pulsar.
So the 24-inch range, strength 9, heavy 3, AP 3. So they're a weird weapon.
Yeah.
Right, you can take out light tanks, you can take out
Marines.
Troops.
Yeah.
But against Dreadnoughts, you are doing very little.
Dreadnoughts and Terminators are saying thank you very much.
Are a problem, which is where they would be really useful. So what's their role? I mean, they're very quick. The other advantage is they've got a strength 10 AP1. I think it's AP1.
Yeah, their lance is brutal.
Yeah, only one attack. But again, you aim at the right unit, you might be getting a nemesis bonus. Charging, get a second bonus, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, hold on, I've been using my jet bikes wrong in this army. They need to be much more of a force. But because they've only got a 3-up save, they become vulnerable to bolt guns in a way that they didn't used to be.
So you've got Adrathic Devastator do.
So Adrathic weapons are pretty cool.
They get hot, if I remember correctly.
Here we go. So they've got their own section, which isn't alphabetically sorted, because that would be. So you've got an Adrathic Destructor and an Adrathic Devastator, 12-inch and 18-inch range, respectively, strength 5/6, both AP3. The Destructor's Assault 1 instant death, armor vein ranged, gets hot. The other one, it's heavy 2 instant death, armor vein ranged, gets hot. So they're both armor vein, but they've got short ranges. Both got instant death, but again, they're both AP3.
Yes, the AP3 is the killer.
So how much?
Or not.
Yeah, and it's not like there's not lots of shots and they get hot. So it's a high risk, low reward kind of thing.
Yeah,
if it ever gets through, it could be really good, but they're not reliable in any way, stretch or form. And this is what I found. From distance, I was doing, first turn I did 2 wounds. The whole army, if that, 1 wound. Because the ranged options that I had taken, which I thought would be fairly useful, I just couldn't bring them to bear.
Speaking of range options, and maybe I'm jumping around a bit too much, but the Sagittarius Guard, I'm getting that name wrong, Sagittarius Guard, the shooty guys, their gun, which is cool, it's a sort of super combi weapon. You've essentially got an Adrathic weapon attached to a sort of heavy bolter, so they can either fire it in bolt volley, 36-inch range, strength 5, AP 4, assault 4, so it's a lot of shots coming out of those guys, or you fire it in disintegrator mode, which is 12-inch shorter at 24-inch range, strength 5, AP 2, assault 1, instant death, gets hot, but it's only 1 shot now. Whereas previously,
it's a very powerful shot.
A very powerful shot.
But it's
very
AP. Sorry, what AP is it?
AP2.
So if you roll your 1 to hit, it does you a wound.
Yes.
You get your 6
you
up.
Get your vulnerable, which would be 6 up. Yeah.
It's not very good.
It's only the 1 shot, which because they always used to get hot as well. But you used to be able to fire either any number of times.
You also used to save it on the 2 up.
Would you? Because it was AP2.
No, used to.
Oh, I see.
No, you don't. So, they used to be able to weather that gets hot.
Yeah.
But now, they might have 3 wounds. I don't know if those guys have 2 or 3 wounds. Haven't looked.
Still, it's chipping away at something that's very expensive, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly. So
you probably wouldn't want it firing every turn anyway. I mean, it's essentially, like I say, super combi weapon.
Yeah. So.
But it's not a long range.
So it's tricky. It's tricky to do it from range. So you're thinking, right, cool, I've got to get up there. Fine. Okay, I can run. But the Telemon, the Storm Cannon's 12-inch range. Arachnid Storm Cannon, Heavy 3 Lance, Exo Shock 6+, Strength 8, AP1. That's cool, but very short. The Arachnid's Blaze Cannon, 24-inch range, Strength 9, AP1, Heavy 4 Lance, Exo Shock. There's stuff in here with Melter, Lance, Exo Shock.
There's quite a lot of Lance, isn't there?
So you can take out vehicles, but none of that works against Dreadnoughts. So Dreadnoughts become a bit of a problem.
Lance doesn't do anything against the Dreadnought, does it?
No.
Because Lance brings things down to AP12.
Yeah, AP12. So you have to end up having to deal with Dreadnoughts in combat, which is always very risky. Now, you are getting your +1 to charge Dreadnoughts, your +1 attack on Dreadnoughts, but you're also walking into the guns of something like a Leviathan with double storm cannon. Is not healthy. The melter gun is not healthy. One thing is interesting.
You're also up against, just fighting them in combat. Yeah, you're going to be striking first, but unless you kill it, it's coming back with its brutal 3 fists and things, and contemptors.
The only good thing is it's not instant death in you, but it is doing in so many wounds it almost doesn't matter. Within all that, let's have a look. Terran Guard, 4 attacks. Aquilon Terminator Squad, 3 attacks. Base Custodians, 4 attacks. You can get a lot of attacks when you're charging. 6 attacks on the charge against the Nemesis unit.
Yeah. per
for all
guy.
those units. So they seem to be an up close army, more than less possibly they were. Let me find, because again the Guardian weapons are in a different one. Guardian Spear is +1 strength, AP2, two-handed reaping blow. Guardian Axe is +3 strength, AP2, melee, two-handed unwieldy. Warblade, strength as user, AP2, melee. Pyrothite Spear, +1 strength, AP2, reaping blow. Yeah, they're all AP2. Predatory Lance, melee, two-handed, +1 strength.
How did you find the general Guardian squads?
But they're fine. Problem is they die.
Mm.
Because they're 2 up, 6 up. So, and because they're small, smallish units, because you're trying to find points for everything. Bolt guns hurt them. You eventually roll ones. Right, ones hurt you big time. So you die to bolt guns. But again, 4 of those dudes is 8 wounds. Like, if that Leviathan opens up with his cyclonic melter lances, I might have 1 left. Because you've got a 6 up invulnerable. So what do you do if there's not much cover? Do you just run out and give them too many targets? You might have to. It was interesting. Like I just lost the game. I think it was 1 point in it in the end, because we were doing the one where you choose unit types to kill, and my Tribune did run through a decent amount of stuff. Like when he got in, there's a lot of attacks there. He has Solar Power Gauntlet. That's the other thing. There's a distinct lack in the combat weapons of Brutal.
Yes, because they don't have any Thunderhammers.
Well, just all their weapons just don't have those rules. So you're lacking the ability when you come up against a Dreadnought. Yeah, you've got a lot of attacks, but they all need to hit and wound, because you can't. Like, the beautiful thing about Brutal is if you've got 10 attacks and 5 get through, Brutal 2, you're still doing 10 wounds. Like, there's a lot there. You don't have that. And there's not much in terms of instant death. So, like, Power Gauntlet, Strength 10, AP1, great. Brilliant. Never going to complain against it. But it's 1 save, doing 1 wound. So, it doesn't take much to take you off of that. Trying to find what other weapons they had here. The Meridian Swords are interesting because you can use different types. So that's quite good.
Incredibly
you can give this to your Tribune, which I might do rather than the Solar Power Gauntlet now, because you can use them either as at strength, AP2, two-handed Rampage 3, which is cool.
There is quite a lot with instant death.
There's not a lot.
Is there not?
No. So that's what I was getting at. So Guardian weapons, none.
Okay, fair enough.
Solar weapons, none.
I'm being misled by the Ms record.
Yeah.
She's got the strength 4, so.
Paragon Blade, cool. There is the Paragon Glaive, which has got Murderous Strike 5+.
Paragon Blade is 6+, yes.
The Paragon Blade, the Paragon Glaive is 5+. The Paragon Blade.
Yeah, where's the Glaive though?
It's under
Guardian
weapons.
Ah, right.
You've got the Misericordia, has got instant death, so it might be when you're up against Dreadnoughts.
Well, that's what I'm wondering.
With 4 guys doing 20 attacks. Sorry, 24 attacks. But
fishing for 6s.
Hitting on 4s against weapon skill 5. So
are you? Is your weapons? Oh yeah, 5. Yeah, fair point.
So you're hoping for your 1 or 2 6s, and then for them to fail one episode, and it's only D3 damage.
Yeah, that's the problem. Instant death isn't that great. Yeah.
Galatus Warblade is instant death, and the Misericordia. The Meridian weapon. So yeah, you've got either user strength 8, strength as user AP2, two-handed Rampage 3s for lots of attacks to get through dudes. Fine. Strength +1 AP2, two-handed Murderous Strike 4+. Or strength 10 AP1, two-handed Measured Strike, which means 1 attack, instant death. But yeah, Hands Cut the Clouds could be quite good in that respect. And it might be something I take on a dude who's got. You've got the ability to change depending on what you need as well, but they lack. They don't struggle. but they don't kill dreadnoughts quick, and you do lose models to them. So even the Telemon doesn't have
The Telemon
brutal.
I thought was somewhat underwhelming. The two other dreadnoughts I thought were pretty good.
Mm.
I mean, obviously
So,
the Telemon is a sort
no,
of
sorry,
Leviathan
apologies.
equivalent, isn't it?
You can take the Gravis Power Fist on regular dreadnoughts, so you can get a brutal
Yes.
3 from that.
Yes.
But the Telemon,
well, that's the thing, isn't it? That's your anti-dreadnought is your own dreadnoughts, but you can't deliver the dreadnoughts in the way that a Legion force can, is you can't put them in pods.
No, but no one really does anyway. That's not necessarily
Yeah.
an issue. But once you've walked up the board with your Telemon, you've gone, yeah, I'm a Telemon, I'm a big bad dude. I've got a Strength 10 Sunder Power Fist. Like, when's that useful? Rarely. Like, you know, the Telemon was underwhelming because it's close range guns, and then the fist is, even against Terminator, it's strength 10, so yeah, you can instant kill, toughness 5, but that's less relevant. I'd rather have the brutal 2 or 3 on that. Even if it was 2, I'd rather have that. I'm just going to look up the Telemon here briefly because they ain't cheap either. Where is the Telemon? Here we go. It's a heavy, so it can't run. So you can't just like whack it up there. It's got a Hammer of Wrath 3, always did, but Plasma Trench is okay. It's 365 points before you've upgraded the weapon.
Yeah.
Was kind of like, it was cool, don't get me wrong, it's strength 8, toughness 8, 8 wounds. But it's only got an automatic deflector. It's weapon skill 6, which is cool, but you will go down. Like they need to be played different. So I was talking to someone who at Warhammer World, and they were like, I think the answer might be vehicles to get models up the board. And I'm like, yeah, potentially. The Caladius Grav tank has a flare shield, so it can carry. No, that's the one without transport capacity. I can't remember which one it is. Whatever. Right, but that one, that one's got a flare shield, so it's effective front armor 14, which is just about okay. When you get into the other stuff, the attack speed is 11. I can't find it. It'll be here. Kronos Grav Carrier. Here we go. Comes with a flare shield, so its front armor is 13, with the flare shield is 14. 10 las cannons. You've only got 5 hit points. You only need 1/6 to blow you up, and this is the problem with it. I don't think these vehicles are too bad, but when they're such a target, they can be blown up. It's 108 points. It has got a blaze cannon on it. It's great. It can deep strike, can outflank, but its access point is at the rear of the vehicle. It does move 16 and flies, so it's not transport capacity of 18, which it needs to be because everything is bulky. 3, 4.
It's not an assault vehicle.
No, it's not an assault vehicle. Which I kind of don't necessarily have a major issue with.
Well, I didn't, but it's particularly not given the level of manoeuvrability. I mean, moving 16, outflank, and deep strike is pretty potent.
But it adds in. You need to get your Custodes up the board as quick as possible.
Yeah, that's the problem, and it's a close-in army. You're getting them out, and then they spend a turn standing around.
And the other thing is as well, if you are having to stand on objectives, that's elite units that are best in close combat, not necessarily being in close combat. So, as a standalone army, it's going to need a different style of play. As I say, I haven't used everything in there. And don't get me wrong, I think it's still intimidating. Like, the Venatari still can hit like a ton of bricks if they make it there through what they're firing at. So we've got 4 attacks each if they've got the lance. They're AP2. They've all got melt bombs. I mean, these ones are chosen warriors, relentless, stubborn. Got all that. There's a lot. All of them have got chosen warriors, relentless and stubborn. it's interesting. It's going to take a lot of play. I could see them as allies being quite interesting.
They're certainly not just a no-brainer. They're not
nowhere near as
crazy
scary as they
powerful.
used to be. But I think there's some play in there. It's reading it, finding it, and me buying new models, unfortunately, or painting some up. But we should move on, I think, from them.
They are a headline item, obviously, but they're not the ones who've got all the new stuff.
No, Sisters are silent, so they have. So when you select attachment, the number of units, there's 3 chambers militant. There is the Chamber of Vigilance, which I think, if I remember correctly, no, that's not the one. Chamber of Vigilance is the base one. So
yeah, it's the most numerous.
You may be given,
ones,
before models are deployed, you choose whether you can scout or infiltrate with any chambers of vigilance units. If you're entirely made up of models with that variant, the special rule may be selected without restriction, regardless of which HQ choices are selected for the army. Basically, your HQ slots allow you to choose a certain amount of different chambers. So if you don't take any chambers militant, you can't have any militant units, effectively. The Oblivion unit special rule is they gain Fearless when locked in combat with a unit type that includes any demon or corrupted. And then Chambers of Judgment is Fearless when locked in combat with Psychers. So cool, bit of flavour. They've changed slightly up how that's used. They do have 3 Warlord traits. They do get additional reactions for some of them, I think. Or they get additional units to do stuff. Additional reaction, and some other things as well. I haven't really looked too much into that.
Yes.
Not too worried about that. Judy Shakro's got all the rules in the world. She's great.
Yes.
Love her to bits.
Not quite a Primarch, but...
No, she's 150 points. The only thing that lets her down is toughness 3. But
weapon skill 6.
With precision strike 5 up and precision shot 5 up, and the murderous strike 5 up as well, and duelist edge as well for being in the old thingy. It's great. HQs. So in the old book you had Knight Centura and the Execution Squad, maybe one more. Now you've got Knight Abyssal, specific to Chamber Oblivion, Knight Centura, specific to Chamber Oblivion, Silent Judge, specific to Chamber Judgment, Silent Fury, Judgment, different types of characters here, and we'll get into why some of them are different later. Questor Cadre is a 3 model retinue for Chamber of Judgment. You've got a Raptor Cadre for Oblivion, and you've got the Knight. You've got lots of different options based around what you're doing. They're all very similar, but with slightly different rules. What you've got in the Elite section is a Knight Vestal Covenant. You have got your Feel No Pain buff for Sisters. You've got Apothecary detachment.
Yes, I thought that was interesting. And
So
the way they deploy is fun.
So you can have up to 3 of them, and they start together, but can run off.
So you don't. It's not like they're apothecaries where you assign them to squads, kind of thing.
You know what is interesting? They're not independent characters. Oh, yes, they are. Sorry. They're infantry character. Yeah, they're still independent characters, so they can join units. That's fine. So, they start together, which means they can potentially all be killed before you get to put them into units. But then they run off and join units.
But it's the fact they have run off and join units, they can't start with those units.
Which can be awkward. Maybe that's a balancing factor.
I wonder, because it feels awkward, but
because you can't start vehicles, because a unit that's got a transport has to
Yeah,
start in it,
well, you
dedicated.
put them in the centre of the field or whatever, centre of your army, and then they all have to start running.
Yes.
Like, oh, wait up, guys, I'm coming.
And remembering, if you're taking the base one, they can all potentially scout infiltrate. So you could be on lots of different places on the board. They're 35 points. They're really cheap. Don't have to buy them anything, to be honest. However, you are giving, you're giving Feel No Pain to a unit that is toughness 3. There's a lot of strength 6 out there. A lot of strength 6. So I didn't get that many saves when I used them because they were being shot at by stuff that was strength 6, 7, 8. But 35 points is very cheap. Oblivion Knights.
There's no Chamber Vigilance HQ.
No, anyone who is not is automatically Chamber Vigilance.
I suppose you don't need it because you can just take as many as you like, I think, can't you?
Yes. Oh, yeah. So again, this year I haven't read for it. Yeah, basically.
So Chamber of Vigilance, you can take as many as you like because they're the most common. That's like your standard troop choice. Yeah. But Chamber of Oblivion and Chamber of Judgment are locked to your HQ choice, which is why all the HQ choices are either one or the other.
Exactly. Playing it to that. Yeah, and the rules, so they can join other units, but like only the models gain fearless, what have you, and allow other things. That's cool. That's all fine. They've got their Oblivion Knight cadre, so execution blades, which are pretty cool. 100 points for 5 of them is not bad. You've got.
What did you take in your game?
I just took some Oblivion Knights to run with Kroll. I took some. I'm trying to remember the names of them now. There's the heavy support ones, snipers basically.
Oh, they were quite cool. Was it the subjugators?
Subjugators, fast attack. No, it's not subjugators. I kept thinking it was subjugators. It's definitely not
Sanctioner.
Subjugators.
They've got Nemesis bolters.
Yes, Nemesis bolters. Yeah. But we'll go through. Eradicators are bolters with they've got good options basically. For those girls, try and remember what they've got. Stubborn Hatred, Precision Shot 6 up, which is interesting, bearing in mind any model in the unit can have combi weapons. Troops haven't really changed much. Bolt guns, swords, Karen Pattern Acquisitor. Though I didn't look up the Spectra Distort Shield. Let's do that while I'm doing this.
Oh, it's like a mini flare shield. I think. Whoa, let me get that right.
No, it's
there is something that's like a mini flare shield.
Yeah, no, this is the Spectra Distort Shield. Distort Shield is the same as Spectra Cloaks that some units have. You're considered to be 8 inches further away than you actually are.
Oh, cool. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, unless you've got night fighting, ability to see through night fighting and stuff, you ignore that.
I was thinking about an Eclipse shield, which I think is on some of the flyers.
Yeah. Where it gets really interesting is when we start to get to fast attack choices and heavy. So the Pursuer cadre are still there, which was never used because rules were jank and there were no models. I think I saw one person ever making a unit. I'm sure there were others, but you can take up to 3. You get 3 Pursuers. One's a mistress, and then you buy additional 3, and you buy for each Pursuer or Pursuer mistress. One beast for each person, basically. Cyber Mastiffs, Cyber Felidae, Cyber Cayman, and Cyber Raptors. And they've all got different stats, obviously. Cyber Cayman being the most expensive with 2 attacks at Strength 5, Toughness 5 at Weapon Skill 4. But they've all then got different rules. So Fleet for everything bar the Caymans, Furious Charge for the Mastiff, Rage for the Felidae, Feel No Pain for the Cayman, Shrouded for the Raptors. They're a funky unit, but this possibly means we're going to get a unit from models for them. It's one of those ones that people always wanted to run. The most interesting unit in the book.
Yeah, it's really
I'm-
unusual.
I'm not even sure how I'd use them really. It's a lot of beasts with attacks. Yeah, I don't necessarily think they're amazing.
They could potentially look, I mean, super cool, and they're in that. There's a particular art style that a lot of the talents of the Emperor from the back of the Sabretooth
Yeah.
games, card game thing, to era Adrian
Yes,
Smith art books and stuff that have got some very classic, particularly the Sister Society, some really otherworldly, sort of the thin
they're fun.
Blanche style images of the Sisters of Silences, and they're these sort of highly armored, segmented armored things. And these guys feature where there's some. I mean, the fact they've included a caiman, the idea of these cyber crocodiles,
It's ridiculous.
is
So, but what
serious
they are
business.
is cheap. So if you took 3 pursuers with 3 mastiffs, say, because you wanted to run it that way, that's 80 points. Are they great? No, you can then give them execution blades as well. I think for 10 points, yeah, for any model in the unit. Exchange their close combat weapon. I don't think the hounds have. Yeah, no, they do. So technically, you can give your cyber mastiff an execution blade because it swaps out for their close combat weapon. Whether that's supposed to represent like pneumatic jaws or something, I don't know. That might have to be just clarified because it might be intended. I wouldn't give them an augury scanner, but they're a funky unit for 80 points. You get a lot of attacks, aren't necessarily amazing, but you can do stuff with the unit and they'll look amazing on the board. And bearing in mind again, these could be infiltrating. It's another unit, and if you get into objective play, becomes potentially more, although they're not line, so they are just light. But you could get the anathema. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how useful they are. You've got a firebrand cadre that have got flamers. That's pretty much what they do. It's just a unit with flamers. You've got a subjugated cadre, which is
switch any of the weapons for anything. You can give them all grenade launchers or
grenade launchers,
snare
which
guns.
is the other one. Snare guns, but I'll talk about that in a second. And grenade launchers are cool because you've got psych out grenades, or you can get them. So that becomes really cool for them. Subjugator cadre. I was like, 105 points, move 18. Okay, what's 3 of them? Because they come with Arenas,
Arenes, I'm guessing.
Arenes, yeah, Arenes jet bikes. We're getting the jet bikes that they talked about in whatever book.
There's an image of Sisters jet bikes back in the Sabretooth games days, which is, I'm assuming, will probably be where the point of reference comes from.
The best thing is you can buy the Subjugator Mistress a Power Fist for 20 points to make her Strength 6. Filth. Who cares? You've got jet bikes that come with snare cannons, which we'll get into in a minute. Termites. They can have termites, which is a really interesting.
I was surprised that was in there for them.
It gives them a different option, I suppose. Allows them to get up the board a little bit differently. I don't mind it. I think it's a bit strange. Sanctioners are your snipers with marked for death rule, and Nemesis bolters can have Varantine. Nemesis bolters, talk about Varantine in a second. And you can have, 5 of them is 85 points with Nemesis bolters, and they have the Spectra cloaks, so they're 8 inches further away. And they're toughness 3, but they still got 3 up save. So 85 points for 5 snipers isn't bad. Although they don't have line, which is, they're in heavy sport. So, which is maybe why. Hold on, actually. Yeah, no, they don't have line. Sorry, I was just double checking other stuff. But 85 points for some snipers is not a bad thing. However, and you can get an augury scanner with them as well, which is useful.
Most of the Sisters units have got that option.
Yeah, most of the Custodes don't. That was the other thing I noticed. a lack of little things like that could potentially hurt them. Some like stuff deep striking in, you don't mind to an extent because you want to be in combat, but you don't always want to be in combat with one specific thing, you know. We've got a heavy flamer unit, and they can take
with quite a few options.
Missile launchers, Adrathic destructors, snare cannons. Again,
destructors is fairly
85 points for. Oh, this is where maybe them getting out of a termite or something like that is really cool. Who knows? So there's a lot of units there. I don't think we're going to get options. I don't think we're going to get. I think a lot of these are going to be weapons options that you just have to manage. We might get some new models in terms of those things, but I think we'll get jet bikes, and I think we'll get the Pursuer Cadre beasts. It's exciting. There's a lot of cool stuff.
There is. And I'm really surprised to see they're the ones that have expanded. I would have expected it to be Custodes. It's interesting they've taken these guys off into that direction.
Yeah. What's then interesting is how to make that into an army that can compete against a Space Marines. Because they are more limited in the weapon choices they have. Like, you know, your anti-tank is relying on things like combi weapons. And maybe the odd unit here and there. And that because they're cheap, you're going to have a lot of units across the board. I don't know. Like, I haven't been able to sit down and go through all the weapons thoroughly. Like, I've got a vague idea of what's going on. But you do wonder how they'll compete. You know, how are you going to take down 2 dreadnoughts with these guys? You're going to have to be upgrading some of these other vehicles. What you can do to help you a little bit is things like snare guns. So snare guns have the entangle rule, which I'm going to just double check exactly. And I think it could take a lot of use to use it. So attacks with this special rule does not roll to wound. Instead, you roll to wound by comparing the attacker's strength to the target strength characteristic in place of the toughness on the to wound table. If you inflict wounds, you do not make armor saves or damage mitigation rolls. Instead, for each wound inflicted, reduce the movement characteristic for all models in the target unit by the number in brackets that is included as part of the special roll to a minimum of 1 until the end of the controlling player's next turn. Then you discard the wounds. They have no effect on vehicles or Primarchs or on any model that starts the battle with 6 or more wounds. So you can't even use it on tough dreadnoughts. Okay. So you can take a lot of entangle, but what are you achieving from doing it apart from your stopping movement? Fine. They can still act, they can still react, they can still shoot.
You're stopping movement for a turn, aren't you?
But you're not also stopping movement. You're reducing their movement to 1, so they can still charge. So if you get too close and do it, they can still charge with minuses on the charge roll, but you're having to employ a lot of shooting to make, you need to get 5 wounding hits to make a unit move 1, or move 2, because Space Marines move 7. So, there's a lot that gets put into doing that. I don't know. Ex Oblivio has changed. Basically, at the start of any combat, the assault phase before initiative step 1, controller player can declare the use of Ex Oblivio, which some of the units have. Select roll a d6 and select a single enemy model in base contact with a model with that rule. It must reduce its weapon skill to 1 for the remainder of the current player turn. If the dice roll result is a 2 of a 6, there's no further effect. But if the dice roll is a 1, then the model with this special rule suffers a wound. So that's really quite cool, and I didn't use that when I was playing with Janisha Kroll. because if you step into a challenge and you choose that person, Janice Kroll then goes, "Your weapon skill 1," and I'm going to hit you I'm going to hit you on 2s with my 5-up murder strike weapon, and you'll be hitting me on 6s, which is pretty cool. What else was there? Psy shock. So psych-out grenades are around the army. If a unit includes at least one model which suffers one or more unsaved wounds from a weapon with this special, also perils at the warps. And then maybe only take it once per phase. A unit that includes at least one model with a Psyker or Demon unit type which suffers one or more unsaved wounds also suffers perils of the warp. So that's the D3 wounds, isn't it? So it hits the unit rather than a specific Psyker as well. So sort of less effective in that effect. I mean, it's more wounds, great, but you still got to get the wound through, and you can't get to that guy, which is an interesting thing. Yeah, I think the Sisters Army. I wonder if there's an intention to make them be used more as an allied force.
It kind of has that feel.
But if you're making an army list, it should be able to fight. And I just wonder if there's a lack of ability to go out and hurt stuff. You've got Vrantine. What they have got is a load of Vrantine weapons. So you've got normal bolters, Vrantine bolters, and they basically add the Psy shock rule, if I remember correctly. Just going to double check that. So there's so if you are facing Thousand Suns, you are going to be doing those D3 extras across the board. Oh no, it changes the stats on them because Vrantine missile launcher only works with that. Bolt guns, why can you never see these things? Vrantine bolter. Oh yeah, it has got Psy shock, so it's a reduced range. It's only 18 inches, still rapid fire. Psy shock. The Nemesis bolt's 52 inches, all the same, but Psy shock on top. Just reduced strength 4. So whether you take it or not, if you took 2 units, maybe one takes them, one doesn't, that kind of thing. But I do wonder how well they'd fare up against a mixed arms Space Marine force. I do think they'd struggle to get through the big stuff.
Yeah, I kind of get that impression as well.
And it will hurt you for the lack of that. But hey, I've got loads of them, so I will be taking them at various points. I mean, again, if you want allied forces and you want some stuff to score, Prosecuted Cadre, Vigilated Cadres are 65 points for 5 models, with Stubborn, Hatred, Psychos, Demons, Corrupted, Fleet 1, in Vrantine armor, which I'm pretty sure is just the basic stuff. So there are options within that. What's interesting is, I suppose, someone declares a charge at you and you stand and shoot with your snare guns. You could reduce their get them onto minuses to charge you. That's very situational.
There'd be something. I'd have to look again at the order that certain things take place about when that, because has the charge already successfully taken place? I think it has.
Yes, because you roll when you succeed.
You roll,
don't you?
Yeah, exactly. You succeeded, and then the shooting starts. Because otherwise, you could shoot people. Casualties could come off, and then increase your charge distance. And I don't know that isn't a thing. So.
But yeah, it's an interesting one. That is for sure. And as I say, I'll be really interested to see how it works. Yeah, the jet bikes can have needle cannons or Adrathic destructors. So they could be an option, 10 points each. So 3 of them with Adrathic.
They're very light, aren't they? Their build is very light, and they live up to that.
Yeah. I haven't looked at the needle weapons in this, so I will just do that before we just have a quick look at assassins. We're not even going to touch the Solar Auxillia, although Lehman Russes could be very popular. Just because you can take quite a few of them, I think.
Yeah, I haven't had the chance to go through
No.
yet. That'd be interesting to see what they're like. But
I
they
think
are they're a whole other thing, aren't they?
Yeah, it's the same issues that Space Marines have. Like some of the big bombards have lost the ability to really get through armor, that kind of stuff.
Which, given that they were fans of artillery, that's not entirely surprising.
So needle weapons, here we go. So here's something that could be quite good. Can you change? No, it's the entire unit. Okay. So needle cannons. Needle weapons are pistol is 12, needlers 18, cannons 24, all strength 2, all poison 3+. Pistol has 2 shots, needler is assault 3, cannon is heavy 4, and they have pinning. So 3+ poison, pinning. There could be some really niche targets, but they're really quite good. Yeah. I think that might be the AP dash, but I think that might be where I'm going. I mean, the Adrathic, again, they're AP3. Instant death. I suppose you take some of them to deal with some of the tanks. Jet bikes with Adrathic destructors.
These things sort of. Also, they're quick enough to keep them in cover, and then you just suddenly dart out and hit the thing in the side.
Yeah, the problem is they move 18, but the gun's only 12-inch range.
18.
Yeah, but the gun's 12-inch range, so your melter is only at 6-inch range.
Oh, yeah, that's hard.
And it's only strength 5. So you're not getting through tanks unless they're within 24 inches of you. So again, you are a bit limited. You're like a good anti-armor thing is still a bit limited. But yeah, a mix of them. How many points? It's only 25 points for each additional. So
a big squad of them, I think, would be tricky though. I think it'd be tricky thing to wield because they're going to be physically quite big, I'd imagine.
175. It's 275. If they all had needle cannons, 325 for 10 of them with needle cannons. I wouldn't necessarily take all 10, but units of 6.
I was thinking, yeah, smaller squads I could see being a thing.
Could be good. They're in a fast attack option as well. So
I mean, the fact that the smallest squad is 3 models is quite good.
Yeah, potentially, yeah. And that's
rather than 5.
If I had an anti-tank unit, I'd maybe take 3. They can hide behind a piece of terrain a little bit easier and then jump forwards.
And jump forwards and hit it in the side or the rear.
Yeah, so in your fast attack options, you've got the assault drill, the 5-gram cadre that can take the grenade launchers and what have you, the subjugators, and the pursuer cadre. So if you are moving away from the pursuers, like you could easily have your 3 fast attackers, 3 jetbike units, and have one or 2 set up for tank, and then the other ones for.
I mean, that is an interesting conversation to have in terms of how the game sort of starts to shape up, because I have heard more than one person say, well, vehicles, basically the infantry squads in marine armies are so good, the tactical squad is very effective, the heavy support squads are very effective. People have been dropping vehicles. You end up with dreadnoughts are very effective, infantry is very effective. Dreadnoughts, particularly contemptors, are potent. There's no getting around that. But these 2 forces become quite interesting, with the exception of dreadnoughts, which continue to be powerful. But these 2 struggling to deal with vehicles suddenly makes your marine force want to take some vehicles. Oh, so no, they're okay against vehicles, aren't they? It's dreadnoughts.
Yeah, they've got a lot of lance. It's dreadnoughts that is the problem. I mean, the answer is dreadnoughts are always the problem. I do think there's possibly something that needs to be done with dreadnoughts, and I'm not 100% sure what needs to be done with it. Along the line.
These 2 do play quite well together, don't they?
Yeah, I think they could really handily support each other. It's cool. I'll still use them. They're certainly not the scary thing they used to be. No. That is for sure.
Which is, I think, a good thing. Makes them more inclined to be used, I think.
Yeah. Cool. Quickly diving into Assassins before we finish up. A single clade operative from the Divisio Assassinorum Arminis profiles may be included in any primary detachment It uses up to 4 organisation shots normal, but is unaffected by the levels of alliance rules, and all friendly models in the army treat as if it was distrusted allies, which, to be honest, the actual allies rules, it's not something I particularly like using, because there are always ways around that. Like, there are always examples of Iron Warriors that fought with people they didn't like. So they're never scoring and may not hold objectives. I haven't actually checked to see how much these objectives. So can they join? Can they join units? I think they might be able to. Right. So if it's it must be loyalist. Blah 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 blah. Tactics. They've got their advanced reaction, which we saw, which is basically if you're targeted, you get to run away and not get shot. And that's kind of important because they are armor save 4 with a 4-up invulnerable.
And you're going quite a way with that one as well. You're going 10, maybe 12 inches, depending on who you are.
The problem is something else can see you. You always need to be hiding when you're doing it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you need to be able to get somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, so they are unit type assassin. We should probably jump onto that. Unit type, let me find it. Assassin subtype. They ignore all movement penalties when moving or charging through terrain of any kind and automatically ask or do dangerous terrain tests. Models with the independent character special rule may not join a unit composed only of models with the assassin subtype. Assassin's subtype may not embark on any model with a transport, and they may never be selected as the warlord. So assassins can join units, although they are not independent characters. So no, they can't. Okay, so this is the problem then, right? So they can't join units, so they can always be targeted. And they've got a 4-up save and a 4-up invulnerable. He says, I'm 99% sure.
That would presumably be in the assassin rule.
That's what I thought, and then I just read it all out, and it wasn't in there, was it?
Might be in the panoply.
Oh, I think it's in the
panoply of the assassin.
Panoply of the assassin. Here we go. That's the other one I wanted to read. I think there was something else here. Wherever that rule then is, you know, got to go to another page. It's frustrating. That's the only problem with having this many rules here. There's so many different places. How many rules are in the Primarch rules that you don't know are in that part? It's frustrating. So, yeah, it just says 4+ armor save and 4+ invulnerable. So all assassins have that. All 125 points. Yep. And yep. So roughly similar stats across them. A few changes. All got infiltrate and scout. All support squad. All loyalist. The Vindicare assassin. All of them have got 2 wounds.
Probably.
No. Eversoul's got 3. Adamus has got 3. Vent's got 3. Okay, 2 or 3.
Actually, most of them have got 3.
Yeah, most of them got 4. 4 out of 6 got 3. Yeah. You're talking 3, 4, 4, 4, 3 or 4 attacks. The Vindicare is 4s, except for ballistic skill 8 and initiative 5.
Amazing.
They're all leadership 10 as well, I think. So Vindicare, ballistic skill 8, so that's 5 means you're hitting on 2s, 6 means you're re-rolling to hit on 6s if you miss, 7s means 5s, 8 means if you miss with your 2 to hit, you're re-rolling on a 4+ to hit, which is useful. When he's making attacks with his trajectory or specs array, he ignores effects of all special rules or war gear that would modify or limit the range and 2 hit rolls of any attack. So he's always hitting on a 2+ with a 4+ reroll. No matter if it's dark, if you've got -1 to hit, if you've
got Alpha
extra 80. And what's interesting is the The extra range is quite interesting because his pistol is 12-inch range. Strength 4, strength 6, AP4, pistol 3, breaching 6+, sniper. Cool, fine. His Exodus rifle means your scout armor doesn't have any effect on his 100-inch range weapon. What is nice with this one is it's strength 7, which is a nice strength for a weapon. So you're not instant killing Marines with that. AP2, heavy 1, rending. It's a sniper, obviously.
Murderous strike 5, yeah.
Murderous strike 5, rending on a 6. So you are 2s to hit with 4s to wound with 1 shot, but you're wounding on 2s against most things. But that 5 is an instant death shot. It's only 1 in 3 hits. Rending on a 6+ if you then want to shoot at a vehicle for a cheeky shot. Strength 7, you can still do light vehicles because it's AP2 as well. He's 125 points. The problem is he needs to be able to see what he's shooting at, which means other people can see him. So if you then run away, you can't see what you need to shoot at. Although you could tactically run away and leave one spot open, that would be highly unlikely to be able to do that often.
That's niche, yeah.
Yeah. But if that guy's up there and people are worried, he's just going to be facing sniper shots. He's going to be facing 5-man heavy weapons or a tank like Lehman Russ. A Land Raider just going, fuck it. I'll try and shoot that. I'll remember to delete that. I like the Vindicator. I don't necessarily think it would. I think the what's the Vigilator? I think he's overrated. I think this is better than him, but still overrated.
He doesn't compare. Well, maybe he does. I'm just trying to compare him to Exodus, who's the Alpha Legion character, who you can take multiples of.
This guy's high risk, high reward.
Yes.
If you shoot out the wall on turn 1, he's well worth his 125 points. That's not likely to happen. Because they'll still be getting their feel no pain if they've got feel no pain as well.
They'd still get their invulnerables.
So it's high risk, high reward. It's not going to work most of the time. I quite like him though. The Colexus. So we're talking 4s, 3 attacks. Okay, infiltrate scout, fear 2, adamantium wheel 3+. Ethereum. Any shooting attack that target him are snapshots, so you can only ever snapshot him, her. That's pretty good.
That's very helpful. Yeah.
People would just probably not bother to shoot you unless they haven't got any other options. Animal Speculum, so a template weapon, strength 4, AP4, assault 1, rending 6+, force, psi shock. Force to make it 8, strength 8. Yeah, that's all right. Template, you've got to get up close. Life drain is a combat weapon. Strength as used at AP2, melee, fleshbane, reaping blow. It's not bad. Psychout grenades as well. So this is where the first problem you got with assassins. If they can't be in squads, you're charging into combat. Yes, you can challenge, but the rest of the squad can still hit you. You are toughness 4 with 2 wounds, a 4-up save, and 4-up invulnerable. You're dead. Marines will murder you. Absolutely murder you. And you're initiative 5, so lots of people out there.
You'd need to be hitting in combat. You'd have to be hitting small squads, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but they're assassins.
Yeah.
This guy wants to be aiming at not small squads, really.
Well, no, quite a bit. Yes, that's the problem. But that's the only thing I can see him being. Because characters are not really going to be out on their own, are they?
No, they're going to be in squads, and they're going to have a champion to take that challenge. So unless you've shot that champion out, you can't even target, and that's where the other ones really struggle as well. The Calidus is next, and they have a slightly different role, I think, potentially. So initiative 6, weapon skill 5. Reign of Confusion, great. Infiltrate scout, blah, 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 blah. Polymorphine. May not be the target for a shooting attack, charge, or reaction of any kind, as long as it has not made a shooting attack at any point in the battle. Once a unit has made a shooting attack, that has no other effect. So
interesting that's limited to shooting attacks.
Yes, I just reread that. So you could charge into a unit, kill it, and you still can't get shot at or charged. That's pretty cool.
Pretty powerful that it
Yeah.
includes reactions
Yes.
and charges, for that matter.
Yeah, they don't know you're there,
Mm.
so they can't react to you. So this is where I think she might have some play. Reign of Confusion. You can force your opponent to re-roll a successful seizing initiative. That's pretty good. As a nice bonus rule. Normal Shredder's template, Strength 1, Pistol 1, Rending 5+,
Synaptic,
Synaptic Disruptor. So on a wound roll of a 6, subsequent wound, no armor saves, invulnerable saves, or damage mitigation rolls are allowed. No effect. On units don't have a toughness characteristic. The template, that's not bad if you can get into a good place. However, as soon as you fire the template, it can be shot and charged. So, that's this is the turn kind of thing.
Yeah, well, something's happened, but I'm going to do this now anyway.
And then in combat, Face Sword, Strength 3, AP 1, Strength 3 is quite low, Rending 5+, Phase Shift 6+, the same rule applies. So, Phase Shift would be brilliant to take out an enemy character. But an enemy character will be in a bodyguard, blah, 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 probably have a sergeant to call out the challenge, so you can't get to the enemy character.
Yeah,
the combat's it's a frustrating term of events. Again, however, I think she really could be hanging out the back, going and killing infiltrators, snipers. Although
it's a shame the Face Sword is Strength 3 because she's Strength 4. Though. Yeah, true. But it's AP1. This is just that it's AP1.
And it's AP1, yeah.
AP1's awesome. Even Strength 4 would be like, okay, that's pretty good.
And the problem is, 3. 4 attacks, 5 on the charge, weapon skill 5, so you're hitting base troops on 3s. You're only winning on 5s. You might kill 1 or 2 Marines, and then you're facing 6, 7 attacks back. Okay, hitting you on 5s. Half a chance they kill you. So
just 2 wounds. Problem. Yeah, 2 wounds.
This is the problem assassins have.
4.
Yeah. Eversol. Counterattack 1, Friends on Rage 3. Some other stuff. Melt bombs, always good. So Power Sword and a Neuro Gauntlet. So when he's reduced to suit 0 wounds, immediately before he's removed, D6 inches, Strength 4, AP3 hit with the Fleshbane special rule. And they count as having the flame type and they're shooting attacks. Okay, cool, he blows up with AP3. It's not bad, is it? Friends on Rage. You may choose to temporarily increase your attacks characteristic by the amount listed, so 3, so you become attacks 6. And when rolling to hit, each unmodified will result of a 1, immediately suffers a wound on yourself, no armor saves can be made. Still get your invulnerable. But you go to 6 attacks, 7 on a charge, so that's not bad. And then you've got a Power Sword or a Neuro Gauntlet. Whose strength is used to AP3, melee, Fleshbane, Shred, Rending 6+. Fleshbane, so it's 2 ups.
That's quite good.
Re-rolling, Rending 6.
So weapon skill 5, so you're hitting on 3s typically. 7 attacks on the charge, wounding on 2s.
Yeah, basically re-rolling with every hit. Yeah.
Yeah, re-rolling, AP3.
So 5 or 6.
This guy's quite good. But for every 1, you're taking a wound unless you can roll a 4+ save.
You've got 3 wounds though. And an execution pistol.
No pain in some way, that would be ideal.
He's got a needle pistol. He's got a bolt pistol, or he uses a needle pistol, which has poison 3 plus pinning, AP dash. 2 shots though. Again, he's about going and killing loads of stuff, but yeah, he can go in with his 7 attacks, and he might kill 3 guys if he's lucky. But unless
he'd probably kill more than that. He'd probably kill.
Oh no, sorry, yeah.
He'd probably kill most of those 7. Maybe 5.
Not if you take all the saves on your sergeant.
That's fair. Although, has he got something that gets around that? No, he hasn't.
No.
He's not got any precision shots or anything.
I'd be challenging.
Yeah.
And then using the rending hits first.
Yeah.
and then you're left there as a toughness 4 guy with a 4-up save and a 4-up wars over 3 wounds. But it could be fun. The Adamus Assassin. He's got weapon skill 5, initiative 5, 3 wounds. He has got a Nemesis Blade, +1 strength, so strength 5, AP3, melee, rending 5+, which isn't bad. He's got a Needle Spine Blaster, so 12-inch range, either strength 2, poison 2+ pinning, or strength 4, pistol 3+. Yeah, cool. He has Decapitation Strike, so during any fight surface, the controlling player of a model with a special rule may choose to have the model with a special rule make a single attack with the profile below instead of attacking normally. Don't get any bonuses, blah 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 blah. Melee, unwieldy, fleshbane, murder strike 2+. So that sounds brilliant. Shrink 2, AP1. Great. Fleshbane. Yeah, brilliant. However, you need to be hitting a target and being able to challenge someone who can't refuse a challenge. Otherwise, you're killing one dude.
He fulfills the role of an assassin.
Yeah, he's classic.
More neatly in that respect.
But
because you could go in and kill a sergeant.
Unless I'm missing something, it could be that I'm missing something in the rules here.
Sergeant killer, isn't
he? Yeah. Well, I mean, the idea maybe you shoot the sergeant out, but you can always refuse a challenge. And he's got no. Anyway, Death's Artisan. When engaged in a challenge, a model with a special rule may choose to increase their weapon skill and initiative characteristics to match that of their opponent for the duration of the challenge. Additionally, a model with a special rule must always issue a challenge. So it's even worse because you must issue a challenge. Well, it's not even worse, actually, it's 10 lie. So you must issue a challenge if they've got a character unit. So you always increase your weapon skill and initiative. So you always get your attacks, 4 of them. So you can have 4 attacks at, what is it, a Nemesis Blade, at strength 5, AP3, melee, rending 5+. That's not bad, to be fair. The Decapitation Strike. So you choose whether someone accepts your challenge or not. The problem with the Decapitation Strike is only doing the wounds you need to do as well. So, and it allows invulnerables. So that again, if you do get a Praetor, you can go, yep, cool, we're going at the same time, and I'm going to try and decapitate you, and hope you don't roll your 4-up. Or with lesser characters, you might go, I've got 4 or 5 attacks on charge with rending 5-up, strength 5. I'll risk it that way. But then you're dead.
That is the recurring theme here.
Yeah. I will quickly jump through because I know it's late. Venom. Immune to the effects of red phage and other rules.
I thought that was quite cool. That he was sort of immune to those if you're against those kinds of things. I mean, there's certain armies are gonna not like that.
Yeah,
but
within reason.
He's a thing, isn't he?
Yeah, it's a nice little. It's like an added extra. Flesh pain and poison never works on better than a 5-up. Yeah, cool. Poison globes. So when he's charged, they must re-roll the first successful roll when determining charge distance. That's pretty good, to be fair. Template weapon. Toxin injector, strength 5, AP4, poison 3+, rending 6+. Cool, not bad. Hook Fang weapon, strength as used at AP3, poison 3+, the venom. A model suffers 1 or more wounds. The controlling player must roll a d6 at the beginning of every battle turn for the remainder of the battle. On a 5-up, you suffer a wound. No saves of any kind allowed. And a model which suffers 1 or more unsaved wounds from a weapon with the venom is considered to be destroyed for the purposes of missions which award victory points for killing the model, regardless of if they have been removed from play, unless they have the Eternal Warrior special rule. So, go in, do 1 wound to the Warlord, counts as dead for kill the Warlord. Fantastic. Except you're never going to get to attack the Warlord. Because why would you? You just refuse to challenge. Step back. Or, again, a champion steps up and takes it and then the squad kill them.
Do you think an option there would have been to have some kind of something baked into the assassin rule that challenges couldn't be ignored or something.
Potentially, or just give them precision strike 4+. Like, I don't know. I don't know if the answer is to make sure they can't be hurt if they're in a challenge, which seems good, but then seems potentially to be really quite a negative play experience for the other player.
Yeah, there's no interaction with it, is there?
Or just to allow them to go, I'm going into this challenge and I am killing him. And I don't have to be in a challenge to do it. But then the opponent can just challenge you out of that. So
there's not an obvious mechanic there that will make that.
No, the only real way is to allow them to join units. I think.
Which seems weird, doesn't it? Narratively.
Yeah.
Yes, you could say they're running with the unit and hiding within them, but still.
Yeah. We've just got the infocyte. So here we go. Enemy models cannot be deployed using infiltrate within 18 inches. That's a pretty good rule. Unit is deployed to the battlefield, which is a model with the spectre may make the interceptor advance reaction without expending a point. Instead of using the profile of a weapon the model has, a model with your spectre may instead make a leadership test. If you pass, you may make a shooting attack with any defensive weapon available to enemy model with a vehicle unit type within 12 that is within range. So that could potentially be good. There are some pretty good strength 6 weapons out there. Blood Angels can fire assault cannons and things like that. There are bigger weapons that do lots of shots. Potentially could be used. Newsfig Interloper, instead of making a shooting attack, take a leadership test. If it's passed, you may nominate a single enemy model within 12 that has the automata type. You immediately suffers D3 wounds with no armor saves or damage. Mitigation rolls allowed. If it goes down to 0 wounds, remove as a casualty. You can then nominate another unit within 18 inches of that model to take D3 wounds. No further ones can be done. If you fail the test, you take a wound instead with no saves allowed. Very good against Mechanicum and people that decide to take Mechanicum units in their armies. Its combat weapon is +2 strength, strength 6, AP3 melee, rending 4+, haywire specialist weapon. So actually better than some of the other normal combat dudes anyway, the rending 4+, potentially. And he has an autonomic servo limb. Once per battle, I like this. Once per battle, at the start of any turn, the controlling player of a model with
cool.
servo limb may choose to gain the hit run special rule until the start of their next turn. So
really interesting that it's once per battle.
It is. Unfortunately, you will survive the combat to then hit run. But I like him. I think he's got potential.
One of the coolest, or probably the coolest new model, in my opinion.
Like, he's not over the top by any stretch of imagination, but I think he's cool. Next Assassins.
Great that they put in
underwhelming.
I really like the fact they put in new assassin types. 3 new assassin types is not what we expected.
No. Absolutely. They are all characters, and characters can't join units.
I didn't think we would see. I didn't think we'd ever see the Vanus and the Venom.
No. And the Animus came out of nowhere. I think so. It's weird. I think, depending on playstyle, if you like a bit of risk, you might take a Vindicare, 125 points, just to sit there and scare the bejesus out of people. Good for taking out apothecaries, to be fair. Very good for that, although they get their save. But
still.
Wouldn't from the murderous strike though, would they? This is instant death. But I think the Calidus has potential to be interesting.
I think they're all the right side. I mean, give them much more power, and they'd start to become too utilitarian, too useful.
With the speed of the game, I don't understand how any of them survive. Because they infiltrate, fair enough, but stuff moves 16 inches, stuff moves 8 inches, stuff moves 10 inches, 8 inches, and you can get out 6 inches. Like, you can see around corners so easily. Yeah, you can use your advanced reaction, but you've got to be able to go somewhere that you're still useful. So then
these things are moving 12 inches though. 7 inches and then running.
Yeah, but if you're running, you're not charging,
True.
right?
True.
And then when you do charge, you stay at Overwatch.
Mm.
Like bolt guns could quite happily take these guys down,
Mm.
and you have to see your enemies to be able to charge. I think the Custodes has play in that, going and even just tagging and staying in combat with a unit potentially,
Mm.
doing enough. I mean, they could easily, if a Custodes survives, could easily break a small unit.
Mm.
Small unit hunting, but that kind of goes a little bit against the nature of an assassin.
Mm. Yeah, you're not hunting out characters
So
at that point.
unless, and I suppose the problem is you could create enough targets where it's not worth shooting them, but almost always there's models with bolt guns where you're just like, am I going to shoot 10 Marines and kill one or two, or
Yeah.
do I turn around and shoot that assassin and maybe kill it? Where you're going to shoot the assassin. That's the thing. When you get to that point where you're like, I've shot my big weapons at the tanks, I've shot my long range weapons at their heavy weapons. I've got bolt guns. What's in range? Oh, 1 or 2 units. Oh yeah, shoot the assassin. That'll do it. So cool. I quite like that. If I'm going to run a narrative event, maybe I buy a few assassins and just throw them out at people and give them very specific target. Like, you got a free assassin, but his target is that person.
Mm-hmm.
I like them a lot. I have all the assassins. I will buy the new ones. I've got multiples actually of some of them. I will use them. I won't expect them to do a lot.
No, they are. They are. There's something very cool about them, and that's kind of why you're taking them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think based on those rules, but they're good fun, particularly the new ones.
Yes, definitely. I like the Animus. I think he's really cool. I think he has a little bit of potential, but we'll have to see, I suppose. I think we talked a long time. It is late. I will let you go, and I will go upstairs and get to bed myself.
Well, says a lot about what's in this book.
Yeah, and we haven't even talked about the Solar Auxillia.
No,
we haven't really gone through the armies that much.
No, we've just been picking out highlights, but yeah, you can go quite far with this.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff to explore, and whether it's good or not, it's cool.
Mm.
So there's always an element of just take it because you like it.
Mm.
So yeah, that's what we're
like
doing.
It. Yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting book.
It will be interesting if enough comes out of it. I think with the Auxilia, maybe, like, at the moment people aren't taking tanks that much, but then I don't think people are taking huge amounts of stuff to stop tanks because of the nature of not seeing huge amounts of tanks, or if they are, it tends to be closer range. It's grab, it's melter. So if the Solar Auxiliary come out and all of a sudden there's like 9 Lehman Russes on the board, and 2 of them open fire to draw out the reaction, and the rest pound something, like, people might start to think, oh, maybe I need to think about smaller units to deal with tanks that aren't then 6th of my army shooting 2 Lehman Russes. Or maybe they start, I don't know, because things like Volkite are always going to be useful. Who knows? It'll be interesting to see if this book does enough to shift a meta, because I don't think the Mechanicum has. I think the guns that are good against Mechanicum. My worry is the guns that are good enough against everything. Las cannons, Volkite, that kind of stuff, snipers. Like, they're just good, and therefore there will be units of those all the time. Maybe there should be some points changes, or who knows, to resolve it. I don't know, but that's if there's an issue.
It's good. Yeah, I think there's enough variety in here that I think, and there's been quite a lot of people waiting for this. I think with the armies and things, so it's a surprising number of people who have built these variant armies. It will be interesting to see it, how it affects events. Will be interesting to see, because I still see the majority of people playing Marines, I would imagine, but there's going to be quite a few people interested in trying out these variants.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. Awesome, mate. We'll leave it there.
Good chat. Good to speak to you.
Nice.
See you soon.
And thank you for listening to another episode of The Imperial Truth. I'm going to keep this very short and sweet because time is pressing. So if you have any feedback about the episode, please fire it through to greg@theimperialtruth.com. You can find us on Instagram @ChildofFang, Twitter @ChildofFang for me personally, @Imperial_Truth. You can find us on Facebook if you search. And if you've got any comments about the show, you might want to leave them there as well. But you can contact us on any of those. We have yet to decide what we're doing next episode, so maybe if you've got anything you want to throw at us, that could be cool. We're game for that, and we always are open to ideas for future topics and all that kind of stuff. I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a little bit madcap, but at times it felt. But obviously it's new. It's hard for us to find time to go through it all, and certainly getting one game in obviously doesn't show you everything about an army, but it gives you a bit of a hint and a bit of an idea. I see some of what we said about assassins to be echoed at other places, things like that. But yeah, it's all good. We're getting more and more stuff out. We just need the PDFs now, really, for the demons and whatever, and then hopefully maybe we can start looking at the other ways they're going to give us information, which is all very exciting. If you are listening to this and you are in the UK, or you are just planning on travelling to Warhammer Fest, the tickets go on sale on Friday the 10th, is it 11th? Friday the 11th at 3 p.m. So good luck for that. I don't know what capacity, I don't know how many tickets, I don't know how popular it's going to be, but I suspect it might be a little bit popular. So I think we've talked about it's a hectic, like March through May is going to be really hectic for me, but I am looking at trying to make it up there for possibly a couple of days. We'll have to see how that all works out. But I'm going to cut that short there and leave you till next time. So until next time, you have been listening to The Imperial Truth.